All right, guys, let's do this. We got Brittany Simon having a little chat with Lerix. Pretty sure that's how you say it. I think he clarifies it in just a moment. We're gonna watch Lerix's stream because he has both himself and her and Brittany on screen. Brittany also has a video, but she just has a still image of Lerix. This is about Caitibugzz and the George is not found situation. Apparently, Lerix made a video about it that I probably agree with more than I agree with Brittany. I like Brittany, but and I guess she disagreed with it, so she made a video about it, and now they're having a little chit chat. So, yeah, I'm along for the ride. Let's see what we got here, babies. Let's get this party started.
We should be good.
Okay.
We should be good.
Yes.
Hello.
Now, do I pronounce your name Lerix?
It's actually Lerix. No, it's Lerix. Everybody gets it's like a
Lerix. Is that French?
I think everyone gets it wrong. But it's okay.
Okay. Perfect. Well, nice to meet you. I appreciate
I'm never gonna say that correctly. Is that Lerix, like a French guy?
you reaching out. I know it's kind of weird when people make content about you, and then I always appreciate it when people slide into the DM. So I appreciate that.
Whoa, it's getting a little spicy in here.
Yeah, it's normal for this side, at least internet I interact with, so it's normal. But all right, so start this off. I guess you're fine with me taking initiative. So I saw your coverage on my video and
Ooh, getting spicy.
just want to have a conversation about it because you seem to be very confident and condescending when talking about this topic.
Oh, condescending.
Even bragging
Sure.
about how much research you've done into this. So
Interesting. What research is there about the Caitibugzz scenario to do?
I'm looking forward to seeing where that confidence is from. And so
All
just getting
right.
right into it. It's cool.
Yeah. Tell me what's on your mind, because I think we agree actually a lot. I think we just came from different perspectives probably. So do you know what I do as a YouTuber?
Yeah, just to be clear about the whole Caitibugzz, George is not found, a little rundown in case you don't want to watch my videos covering it, which I'll link in the description. George is not found is a Minecraft YouTuber. I believe Caitibugzz is too. They had a party a while ago. It was some kind of an event for a bunch of nerds. I think it was TwitchCon, actually. She was 18 at the time. He was 26. She had apparently kind of stuck into the party with a wristband saying she was 21 or something along those lines. Her and her friend went up and hung out with him and his friends, and then they were all a little drunk. It's unclear whether he did or didn't know about her age. It doesn't really matter. She's a legal adult. I don't really care if legal adults are drinking alcohol, even though it's illegal. That's your bed. Right, you're still a legal adult. They ended up getting a little tipsy. They cuddled together for like an hour. Her friend got up to leave, and she said goodbye to her and then sat back down and cuddled with George. And then I guess he might have made a move to try to, he might have made a move and touched her. Maybe. That's the whole story. None of it's inappropriate from George's perspective. She didn't start claiming it was sexual assault until like 6 months later. It was very highly performative, very annoying, very diminishing to actual survivors of, SA, because she's claiming that's what happened to her, even though it is not. Based on everything that's going on, it was a natural progression. If you cuddle with a guy for 2 hours, for like an hour or two, that you, especially that you don't really know, obviously you need to be smart enough to know that that's you guys cuddling and flirting in some kind of a way. And while I do believe in explicit consent, there is also like bodily consent type of situation. So if you're cuddling with the dude and he makes a move to the next step of me putting his hands on your thigh or something, that's what's going to happen in that scenario. She could have escaped that scenario. She was under no duress. She never claimed to be. At the end of the day, it was something that she seemed to be fine with until all of a sudden the internet convinced her that she was fucking molested. And that's where we are. That's kind of where we are. That's just where we are now. Everybody is the internet is insane. If you want to be charitable to her, she might actually be convinced what happened to her was wrong, because we have a very toxic internet culture that has no idea. Like, it's basically run by children that have no idea about any encounters, and they're making the rules. But that's pretty much it. Nothing wrong happened. Nothing bad happened. My perspective is I think people should lean into her and criticize her very heavily because this type of behavior needs to stop. People can lose their careers over this. It's effectively it's verified that she was not like assaulted in any way, shape, or form. So yeah, go to town, man. People need to be shamed for this behavior. This is like, it's pathetic. It's diminishing to actual survivors, and it can, cause career-ending situations. So yeah.
Yeah, you're like a commentary channel. It covers like a lot of like more on the psychology or philosophy side of things, I guess.
Philosophy, not psychology, but philosophy side of things.
The
So
stinky side
when
of
I'm
things.
making commentary, I don't know where other people are coming from, but I'm always trying to figure out like the most nuanced, the most like what's probably happening versus what the audience thinks is happening. And then of course we don't know because like we're not reading any of these people's minds.
I can. I'm actually fucking. Look at how big my goddamn head is. I almost broke my mother's pelvis coming out of her. I'm fucking brainiac.
So I'm interested. Are you going to like talk to me about the situation, or are we talking about our different ideas about the situation, or kind of both?
Both.
I'm a little confused.
Okay, cool. Okay, go ahead. Do you want to start then with maybe what we maybe agreed or disagreed on? I don't know how you want the conversation to flow.
Yeah, no, it's all good. I got it. So at 7 minutes in your video, you say, we have no evidence that Katie is manipulative, malicious, or a liar, but it's interesting that everyone runs with that. Does anyone have any actual evidence that she did that? And yeah, we do, which
okay.
you actually did react to that evidence in the same video that I covered. So you may have missed it or not, I don't know. But the reason why I say Katie is manipulative, malicious, and a liar is because she lied about George being the one who pressured her to drink alcohol and play drinking games to get her vulnerable when text proof came out showing it was her and her friends who asked to play. She lied about being freshly 18 and then got called out on that she was actually 6 months into being 18.
Freshly 18 is wild. Yeah, she very clearly presented information in a way that favors her perspective. If you want to be super charitable to her, and like I don't, but I'm going to still say it. Listen, everybody has experiences in their life. And then sometimes when you look back onto those experiences, you feel a different type of way about them. And you try to get people to be convinced about the way that you felt about it more than what actually happened, which is wrong. Right? So if you want to say like, oh, maybe she looked back at it and she was actually upset by it, which is fucking ridiculous, but whatever. Let's say you thought that. She might have been presenting information in a way that she was trying to communicate how she felt. This is how I felt. I felt like this. You know, and that's if you want to say she's not necessarily being malicious in general. She might be dishonest about presentation of information, but like I really just feel like we need to stop being so empathetic. As I'm an empathetic guy. I think I'm one of the more empathetic people out there. But I feel like there's only so much that we can really maintain. Like how empathetic do we really need to be to shit like this? You know what I mean? Like I think it's okay that we say, we don't have to be fully understanding of everybody's perspective. I know that sounds weird, but like, yeah, like I'm kind of tired of it. Stop acting like a fucking kid. You're an 18-year-old. You're old enough to be able to set firm boundaries with like people around you and yourself. All right. It's like, yeah, you had an experience you didn't necessarily like that much and you decided it was sexual assault like a year later. I don't care. It's boring, you know?
And then she lied again to cover her last one, saying it was a typo in her script, even though she said it multiple times in her stream. And last time she lied about George touching her out of nowhere and that she could barely move or breathe, completely leaving out the context they cuddled and spooned for over an hour beforehand, which after being called out, she then conceded, completely admitting to that. So I call Katie manipulative, malicious, and a liar because she manipulated and provably lied about information to make George seem...
Yeah, sure. Even if she's not. I mean, that's the way that she presented herself, so she can suck a fart. You know what I'm saying? Hey, thank you so much for the $50 from Spoops. It's my birthday today, Papa. I'm so excited to hear your thoughts on her points later on in the video. All right, well, thank you so much. I appreciate you giving me $50 for your birthday. I like to keep money on my own birthday. But I really appreciate that. Thank you.
More of a predator than he actually is in her allegation. So
he's not a predator at all. He's a fucking loser. Let's be real. He's a fucking Minecraft YouTuber, like 20-something years old. He's not a predator. He's a fucking loser.
It would be received better to the public, which by the definition, that shows she acted in malice by making George seem more guilty and a worse person than he is.
Sure.
I definitely see that perspective. And I think that she corrected herself a few times with any of the misinformation. But I think there's also a question of, do they perceive...
Well, yeah, but then you ask, why did she correct her misinformation? Because she's like, oopsie, I made a mistake, or because she got caught, right? That's a pretty big point to keep in mind.
Perceive the information the same. So that's where my brain has to ask people, have you ever been in a situation where like you both see something and then you have different opinions about the thing that you saw?
Yeah, for sure.
Sometimes I wonder how much of that is playing a role. I agree that there were some absolute miscommunications, and you could call them a lie. And I think that's where I want to be careful is like, was it a lie or was it a miscommunication? Now, I do agree with you that in some areas, I could definitely see the evidence for a lie, but I personally don't feel comfortable making like a definitive, it was on purpose. She 4D chessed this. She absolutely planned this. Like that kind of a feeling? Is that kind of...
No, she may not have 4D chessed this. She might have been told by her friends, you were fucking assaulted. And she's like, oh my God. And then because this is the thing, when people are in like somewhat vulnerable states, they're very malleable. You can kind of suggest things to people in vulnerable states and they will believe that it happened to them. It's a very interesting thing when it comes to psychology. So it's totally possible. She was feeling a little yucky about the moment. And then her friend's like, oh my God, it sounds like you were assaulted. And she's like, really? And so all of a sudden she starts spiraling and she's like, yeah, you know what? Maybe you're right. And then it turns into this big, dumb, fucking, nonsensical internet spat. But she deserves backlash on the internet. She needs to hear that type of feedback because she's in the wrong and she's stupid. Thank you so much for the $5 from Jack Esposito. Papa, I got my final verbal warning about fighting homeless thieves. If I get into another fight, I'll get fired. Happy feast day of Joseph the Worker. Wow. That's a lot of information, brother. They got there's a lot of Jack Esposito lore I wish I recounted in all these things.
Feeling you have though, like you think Katie was like sitting there twirling a mustache and being like, I'm gonna make this, I'm gonna ruin George.
No, but who cares? You know what I mean? Like, it's like, what does that matter? She was so wrong and so off, and she could have had such a negative impact on this guy. So it's like, who gives? It's like, how, you know, why be more empathetic to her than him? Because that's what it sounds like we're doing.
And there's manipulations and there's lies in the situation. And
okay,
I mean, sorry, miscommunications. There's miscommunications and lies in the situation. I only mentioned the lies, a few of them. There's a lot of miscommunications, which is basically this whole situation you could call miscommunication. But on top of it, Katie did lie outright.
Yeah. So the lying, so the one lying I would agree with is definitely like the who initiated the drinking games thing. Like that I would say is like a lie, or I don't know if,
well, that would be a big deal, right? Because she's trying to make it seem like he was trying to force alcohol down her throat if she's lying about who initiated the drinking. But they got up there and they were already like drunk.
Like, I'm trying to be too good faith here, but I could be okay with that being a lie because obviously there's text proof, right? So that would be definitely one I would agree with you on. The freshly 18 thing, I think we're just going to disagree on this in terms of language.
Well, yeah, it sounds like she was trying to sensationalize. I was freshly 18. You know, because 18 is a child nowadays. And it's an interesting conversation to have because I do think that 18 to like 22-year-olds nowadays are extraordinarily immature because especially in like our Western countries, there's not a whole lot of responsibility being put onto 18 to 22-year-olds. And a lot of that is because it's very difficult to find a well-paying job and to be able to own, like to actually live on your own. So a lot of people that are 18 are still living with their parents and they're still being taken care of by their parents. And they're basically like college is now like 13th grade and there's a lot of things there. And it's not necessarily all like these young people's fault. But still, like you're old enough to set boundaries. Katie was not and never claimed that she was in a scenario that like she truly felt like she couldn't escape or was uncomfortable with. Like we said, she was cuddling with this guy for a fucking hour. Her friend got up to leave and she got up to say goodbye to her friend and then she went back to the cuddle. She was enjoying herself. So it's like, what am I expected to believe here? Or what am I expected to feel bad for here? You had a situation, maybe you don't like, you looked back on and said, oh, I didn't like that much. And you, okay, like, who gives a shit?
I think what freshly 18 is meant to imply is that her naivety is there. She's young and inexperienced, which I think all 18.
Yeah, but it's not typical for an 18-year-old to admit that they're young. This is something like, it's actually something that's kind of new to me. Most 18, like everybody's like, yeah, I'm grown, I'm 18, I'm an adult. It's not normal for an 18-year-old to perceive themselves as a child. It's not. Like, I remember being 18 and I thought I was a fucking grown-ass man, you know, and you get treated like a grown-ass man, but like, you're not necessarily a grown-ass, you're 18, you know, but you think you are. So to me, it's like, I very highly doubt that she's so self-aware that she's aware that I'm just a young 18 years old. Like, no way. Every fucking 18-year-old thinks that they're fucking, oh, I'm like a 30-year-old basically. Like, they think that they're grown, you know. So it's all a tactic to me, in my opinion.
18-year-olds are. So I think it doesn't matter if you're freshly 18 or almost 19. I would still put you in that category.
Unless she was doing porn, then freshly 18 is just trying to get guys to jerk off to her, you know.
Do you have a different version of?
I'm only 18 and I'm a virgin. Here's my new OnlyFans. I'm just freshly 18. You know.
Freshly 18 being something else.
So the problem is that she said she was freshly 18. People called her out, said, no, you're actually 6 months to 18. And then in her final thoughts, she clarified and said, oh, it was just a typo in my script. But I think she forgot that she said it multiple times in that stream. I know you didn't get to this part of my video because you clicked off it because, I don't know, you're frustrated. But there was proof of her.
Oh, damn. You clicked off the video, Brittany? You got to watch the full thing, girl. What the hell?
Saying it multiple times in that stream. And it wasn't just that she meant to say, I freshly graduated high school. She meant to say freshly 18. And then
yeah, that's a good point too. I get it. But how does an 18-year-old get experience other than doing things? Exactly. This was an experience for her. It was not a traumatizing experience. It could have been a little upsetting, but it's not a traumatizing experience. Like, it's not a huge deal. Like, you learn through mistakes. I don't know when she decided it was something she didn't like doing, but okay. Like,
made up another lie to cover it. I could play that part if you've missed it.
Yeah, okay. So here's how my brain works when I'm seeing people. I know people misspeak all the time, and I know people aren't as smart as they think they are.
Not me. I'm very smart. Smartest guy in the entire universe.
So they're also not as Machiavellian as they think they are. They're not as malicious as people think they are. So in my mind,
I think that people aren't necessarily as malicious, but when you have somebody who says that's lie multiple times and then tries to cover it up, like, oh, it's just a typo, when it probably wasn't. It's just going to make people think that they're dishonest. It was very likely that she typed this into a fucking script, that she was freshly 18 to try to invoke a particular experience, and then when people called her out for it, she's like, oh man, I got to cover up for that experience. Okay, it was a typo. She could have, like, if she had doubled down and said like, well, I felt that, I would have been more, okay with it. But she, so your best bet, your best argument, is that she lied and she panicked. So she made up another lie, I guess.
When I see somebody fumbling, especially as a streamer who's been doing this for so long, you fumble over words, you say the wrong thing.
I never say anything wrong.
You make mistakes. I do it now, and I'm 35, and I've been streaming a long time. Like I do it now. So I'm trying to look at Katie as somebody who feels under pressure, who's someone who's very like nervous, who's saying things, and I agree with you that she either misspoke or was too embarrassed or something changed. But a part of me thinks there's too many reasonable reasons that could have happened.
I think that we have a scenario where if Caitibugzz, like if Caitibugzz gets away with it with too much empathy, then people are going to, what's the punishment for making up false allegations to people? Because this is what that is, right? Like, I'm not saying arrest her, but like she should be shamed on the internet. If we're just like, no, I understand where you're coming from. It's okay. Then what we're communicating to everybody is that you can come and you can make a fucking an exaggerated, ridiculous allegation about somebody, and we're gonna just be like, oh, it's okay, honey, you're a dumb fucking woman. Like, that's what we're saying. That she, like, that's how, at least that's where my brain goes. You're just infantilizing her. Punish her. Like, I'm not saying do anything, but like shame her a little bit. Like, make her feel stupid. Like, that is a punishment sometimes, to feel dumb, right? It's feedback. So yeah, I mean, or else she's just doing whatever she wants. She's just getting away with bad behavior. And then she's obviously not going to change from there.
So my brain goes to, okay, she's either malicious, but keep in mind too, and maybe this is part of the miscommunication, I think she's a girl who genuinely feels like she was essayed. Whether or not she...
Yeah, well, she's objectively wrong and needs to understand how, like, what she is like, she's doing stolen valor on people who are actually assaulted. I think it's disgusting what she's doing.
We'll agree to that in 5 years. Maybe not. But I think for the person she is now, she believes that.
Yeah,
so
she's
everything she's saying, no matter how sloppy it is, I think she is trying to make it seem as clear as possible that George is a predator, even though you and I don't agree that he is, right? You don't agree George is a predator.
Of course not.
Okay, and I don't agree he's a predator either, right? I mean, 3 full videos, like fully going over this. This was my 4th, I think, video on it. And so, like, for me, I obviously don't think George is a predator. But if I'm Katie and I'm in that situation and I'm 19 and I don't know better and I spent 3 years of my high school at home because of COVID, then maybe I mean,
I get it. COVID was a very unique event, so you can factor that into what's going on. But
telling a story that sounds, quote, worse than it is because people won't believe like it's as bad as it felt, because like
right, that's exactly what I said. Like, she's trying to communicate a feeling more than like an actual event. And then I died. Holy shit.
You know what I'm trying to say? Like, I'm not trying to say she didn't lie. I'm trying to say, did she lie with intention, or did she fumble over her words? Because for me, like, lying is a very...
I don't think that clarification matters enough to make like a legitimate video call out of somebody. You know what I mean? Especially if, and I could just be wrong, the tone was like very angry and antagonistic towards Lerix, right? Like, I think it's fine if you as an individual are like, you know what, I feel this way about this thing, blah, 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 blah. And I understand signal boosting your perspective by disagreeing with somebody else, and I get it. But at the same time, it's like, there are disagreements that aren't always warranted in like active, aggressive, tipster level defense, like when Tipster defended Vosh. If he had just made a video saying, hey, I disagree, here's what I think, blah, 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 and moved on, it wouldn't have been an issue. But instead, he decided to be very performative, go online, be an asshole, be a real piece of shit, like fucking Lolly Defender all over Twitter, right? Like, there's proportionalities. You could have been like, whatever. You could have made it. So, there's like an energy aspect to it, too.
Fumbled over her words. So she fumbled. So in your way of things, she fumbled over her words, and then
she fumbled the bag.
I fucked up, and now everyone thinks I'm malicious, and then made up another lie to cover that up. Because it's undoubtedly true that... Can I, would you appreciate if I could just play the clip? Because I don't know if you're familiar with it.
Sure.
Because this was in the last part of my video, so let me get this pulled up.
Okay.
All right. Let's see. Would it be right here? Because you allowed George to be the one to point out this inconsistency.
What I meant to say was I was 18 and...
All right, here we go.
Go ahead.
When in reality...
Script that was supposed to say freshly out of high school.
Also, the fact that I said I was freshly 18, which is something a lot of people are mad about. When in reality, I was 18 and 5 months old.
The fuck music is this? Like, Final Fantasy 9?
My bad. What I meant to say in that original stream where I said I was freshly 18, I said I was freshly 18 and just out of high school. What I meant to say was I was 18 and freshly out of high school.
Oh, okay. I guess that could have been an issue. I don't care.
Just put it in front of the wrong thing.
This excuse would work.
So she says, I just put it in the wrong thing, but then there's more evidence showing...
I mean, she might have meant that. I don't care because it's all fucking stupid anyway. I don't give a shit.
That she said it multiple times in the stream, right here.
Flimsy excuse, but it would have at least worked here. But you can't use that reason for the second time you said it.
They knew that I was freshly 18, and they also knew I was very drunk.
Freshly 18. Oh my god.
No,
weren't they drunk too? Like, who cares? Like, why is it when a woman's drunk? She's the only one that like has a perspective shift. I'm just saying, you guys are both engaging in consensual behavior. It's so stupid.
Mention of high school.
So that's the second time she said it. So her excuse of saying that she just misplaced it so that the sentence would flow as I freshly graduated high school is a complete lie, because she said it multiple times, proving that she was just making up an excuse.
That's possible.
Yeah, it's interesting. I would say the way that I would read that situation, and because I saw her original video, right? I did, and I know I skipped the end of yours. I would say that this is how my brain would read that. I would read that as, okay, she means the same thing. I think she thinks it's bad either way. It's bad that she's freshly 18. It's bad that she's freshly out of high school. And now she wants to reword it in a way that makes sense to people, but obviously could mean both or either. Do you think Katie cares whether it was freshly 18 or freshly out of high school?
No.
Okay, I don't either.
No, I mean, that could be what it is, or it could be that she's just looking to sensationalize her language so that she could play it up, right? It could be that she has a certain feeling attached to it. It could be that she's trying to sensationalize the language so that she can be played like the victim more. It doesn't really matter, because she's so in the wrong that's the focus, and people need to give her shit for it, or else it's going to communicate to people that you can just be a fucking annoying asshole and come out with ridiculous allegation on the internet, and you're not going to get any punishment for doing so.
But regardless,
So
I guess I don't know. I feel like it's pretty black and white. The problem is that she said one thing and then lied to cover up. She said freshly 18 and then lied to cover it up and said, "Oh, I actually just meant to say freshly graduated high school," and that was just an outright lie. She said it multiple times. It's like it's that black and white, I don't know what the miscommunication is.
What about the Hispanics? All right. What about okay.
Well, that's the dilemma, right? So I think I could see that perspective, but the dilemma is that it's not the only perspective. So it's not as black and white as it seems. Like, humans don't work that way. We're not good at communication. We're not good at things. So I agree with you that she seems like she's...
I think people are good at communication. People struggle with communication with different types of people, right? So, like, my wife has a struggle with this at work, is that she struggles to communicate with people who aren't as educated as her formally. Doesn't make them worse people than her, but she works with like a lot of people and they don't have the same background as her. So my wife knows how to speak really well about social work to a social worker. Sometimes she can struggle with talking to people who maybe like their English is a second language. Because there are some things that are just a little different. I personally don't have a problem with that. I used to work with a ton of people that were like, from different countries, didn't have the same level of like education. It doesn't make them bad or anything. You just have to learn to talk to people like that. And my mom did too. Like, she worked for White Castle. A lot of the people, her coworkers, were like a lot of Hispanic and Black people, especially from like Nigeria and shit and Haiti. A lot of like first generation people, or like not first generation people who were just like migrated here and stuff. So like that can be difficult. So like, yes, it's difficult for Katie to communicate with people that aren't exactly like her, like everybody else, for sure. But in general, people know how to communicate. It's just that sometimes it's easier when you're talking to somebody who understands where you're coming from.
Mistelling the truth or rewording the script, but also to me, she just...
And you could argue that maybe, Brittany is more along the lines of the person that Katie's video's for, because maybe Brittany understands more, what's going on. I'm fucked. I gotta get through it.
Seems like she's not good at communication, and she's fucking up multiple times, which I think we agree she's bad at communication.
Wait, what do you think she messed up the communication of?
I think when she corrected herself, I'm not sure why she did that, because she could have just, because I think she probably, this is me reading her mind, which is not something we should do, but
oh no,
I know she probably doesn't think either is bad. But she probably thinks the audience is going to read it that way, so she's trying to defend herself. And when you come to be defensive...
Hispanic and Black people at White Castle, is that allowed? That's like everybody who works at White Castle in New York. What the fuck are you talking about?
You're going to end up trying to say things to communicate better, but it sounds worse.
So whether she said it under distress or not, it's still a lie.
Oh, no, my wife doesn't hate foreigners. You guys are ridiculous. I grew up around like a lot of Black and Hispanic people. My mom worked with a lot of Black and Hispanic people, and they were like a lot of... I don't think it's called first generation, but like, immigrants. And then my school was like 30% white. So like, I know I'm amazing. I know how to talk to everybody. I'm the best in the world. It's just slightly different backgrounds. Like, we had a whole conversation about one of the people that she supports yesterday, and one of the particular issues that person has. And I can't be specific about their issue, but they have a particular issue where they basically will sometimes have seizures. Right. And, then sometimes, so when they get really stressed, positive or negative stress, so they get excited. So if they have something really good happens to them or something really bad happens to them, they basically will have like a seizure sometimes if they get too excited. So they'll kind of like, fall over and all that. And then sometimes they'll do the same thing when they get excited, but like it's not a body response. They just do it. And when you say, hey, stop that, or like stand up, they'll get up. So people think that they're faking it. But, you know, my wife and has determined that, and other people have determined it's not that they're faking it. It's that they think that that is like the response they're supposed to have. So they have it. And my wife's like, how do I communicate this to people? So I told her a story about how when I was younger, I was coming home from Disney with my mommy. And we had like taken like a taxi back, and I was really hungry in the car. And as we're driving home, the taxi driver offers me his apple. I take a bite of it. My mom was mad at me because like, oh, you're taking this guy's lunch. So she gave him an extra tip. So I took a bite of his apple, and I didn't want it. I was like, I don't want this. So like, what an asshole. I get home, I go to hang out with my friend next door, Ian. And the second I get there, I'm like, oh shit. And I went home and I took a big dump. I took a big fat dump. And I thought I was hungry. And the moral of that story really is, or the point to take away from that is that I didn't have enough body-mind connection to understand the difference between my belly hurting because I had to take a shit versus I was hungry, right? And so that's basically what the person that she supports is going through. So you know what I mean? So, you know, it's just different ways to communicate to different people. Kind of a thing. I went off on a whole fucking tangent.
Like, I can see where you're getting at, is that she said it under distress to try to defend herself. Regardless, she's still culpable for lying about George.
I think, well,
we're going back to this.
She's
game.
culpable for anything that was a lie that she knows is a lie.
I guess.
I agree.
She did know this was a lie.
We be pooping.
She did know this was a lie. The freshly 18 thing. She said it was just a typo in her script.
What is this debate about?
Lie. That's what I just proved.
Okay, hold on. Let me think about this.
Well, I'm a little. I'm struggling a little to understand. Like, what is this debate about? Whether or not she's malicious or not. What? It's a good story and it makes sense.
Is it? Yeah, my brain is like, and again, this is why my channel is like a philosophy channel. So like, what does this mean? What does this mean when people say this? I'm okay with it being obviously possibly a lie, for sure, 1000%, right? I just don't know if it was internally a lie, but if it would help, I can concede and say that I could see why this could be considered a lie.
Yeah, of course. I'm freshly 18, baby.
Gun to my head if they're like, was Katie lying? Like, I wouldn't know how to answer that question personally. So I'm not.
I would just say probably, yeah.
Not sure it's a lie in that sense.
Probably.
But if it helps move the conversation forward, we can do that. The problem is, like, again, I can't read her mind.
Listen, I'm not a huge fan of the, like, we don't really know what they were thinking. I remember, I understand we'll never truly know what somebody's thinking. But if you can't make reasonable assumptions about what somebody was going through, and if you disagree, back that up with particular information, then, like, I don't know. I just feel like that's the entirety of like adulthood. Like we have people that'll get arrested and they're like, I didn't do it. I didn't do this. But you have like all this evidence that says like, yeah, you did do it. But you can't be like, well, we don't really know what's going on in their brain. You know, sometimes we can make reasonable assertions about what's going on in somebody's fucking head, you know?
So I can say the implications of it.
What would be a lie, in your opinion, from Katie?
Let's say she didn't think George essayed her. Like she did not think that. That was not even anything in her mind at all.
We don't know. Maybe she does. Maybe she doesn't, and she's just looking for attention. It's possible. I don't really know if that's true, but my point is like we would never know. How do we ever know? You know?
Ever. Not convinced after, not, talk to, blah, blah, blah. And then she was like, okay, I'm going to say he touched me so I can get clout and views. And she orchestrates a plan to tell a lie about him. That would be a lie. I think intentionality matters a lot to me personally.
Sure. How do you know she didn't do that? I don't know that. I don't think that she did that. It's very like, again, with the internet climate that we have going on, everything's rape, grooming, assault, blah, 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 all bullshit. It's fucking insane. So, that's what I think more than anything else. But like, how do we know she didn't do that? You'd have to we don't know what's in her brain. We'd have to make like an assertion or an assumption about that, right?
Personally. So I would say that if she if I found out, oh my God, like this was a 4D chess plan, she knew he didn't do that. She never even perceived it that way, even because, people perceive things differently.
Yeah, sorry, I understand. So you first said I guess, don't want to be too fucking debate brained right here, but you first conceded saying that she did lie about the text messages. So we already have a proven liar in our hands. And now we're bringing up the freshly 18
hold on.
What's up?
Do we agree that everybody lies in certain ways?
Never. I never lie.
That's completely besides the point. We're talking about this situation. She lied in this situation. Of course, everyone is a liar in other aspects of life.
Okay, hold on. This is the difference between my work and other people's work. My work is to talk about the philosophy.
Well, yeah, but it's like how meaningful is the lie, right? Like this seems like a fairly meaningful lie because it's just her trying to establish that she's just a little baby. I'm freshly 18. I'm a stinky little baby. Ooh. know,
of the consciousness. So if humans are liars, and
like if I'm lying about like the specifics of what I ate today, like it might be a little different than than this,
even though we all pick and choose how we lie, like I think in survival lying, it's good. I don't think lying is good generally, but if you're in a survival situation, it makes sense. So I'm looking at Katie in a survival situation, right?
Well, she's not in a survival situation. Why would you look at her like that?
So once a liar, not always a liar, but everybody lies. So I can't debate.
I look at Katie more as that there's like an incentive structure to lie about sexual assault. Like that's what, I need a fucking breach cutter. What am I doing?
Brain, like I can't debate you on Katie specifically because when I review people on stream, I'm never talking about them. I'm talking about them to learn about us.
Okay.
So that's what my work is. My work is not meant to.
It just seems like you're like dismissing a lot, though. It comes across as that way.
It does come across that way a little bit.
And it should, because if I was doing what you guys were doing, if I was in your work, then yes, I would be like, oh, Brittany's not like engaging in what we're doing, but I'm not doing the same thing. So I think sometimes people review my work and think I'm just a commentary channel, but I'm actually like reviewing them to talk about us. So my audience goes, man, have I been Katie before? Have I been a George? Like I've been falsely accused. I went to court for it. It was incredibly anxiety inducing. It was like the most like intense moment of my life. It was so exhausting. And now I never talk about that person, never bring them up. I don't have to go to court ever again about it, but it was horrifying. I cried. I was desperate. I went home to my parents. It was horrible. Now I'm lucky it didn't destroy my life because I had a support system and stuff like that. I can go to therapy and stuff, but it is a horrible situation. But like, I know ultimately that like my stalker is just a very sick person. And that like they did what they thought was right because that's what stalkers do. But like they're not.
I mean, I think that style of content's obviously fine. Talk about people in some kind of a way to, like, I mean, guess learn from them. But it sounds like she made kind of like almost like a debate call out ish type of a video, and I could be wrong against Lerix. So it kind of comes off as maybe you do a little bit closer to commentary than other people do, than you're admitting or you're aware of.
They're just very sick, right? Like that's what it is. So my work.
Pretty sick too, dude. I did a pretty cool kickflip on my fingerboard, my tech deck, we used to call them when I was a youngster. Pretty fucking sick.
It's about understanding humans and why they do what they do instead of thinking it's black and white. So does that kind of help? I'm really not trying to like.
No, it's good. But to get like the brass tacks here. So basically, that you said you're fine with admitting that she did lie with the text messages, and you're saying there's enough evidence for you to understand the perspective of her being freshly 18. I showed that it was clear cut. And now you also have a girl who completely omitted the fact that they were cuddling and spooning in her first allegation to make George seem more predatory than he actually is. She said, quote, that he touched her out of nowhere. So that
that's a pretty big leap and bound to go over. How do we justify that one?
Is that not a complete another lie?
Like, again, if I want, and I'm doing a little devil's advocate, if I really wanted to be given the benefit of the doubt, maybe she left that out because, again, she felt like it was so uncomfortable and upsetting to her, and she felt like if she told people that, though, that they wouldn't believe anything that she had to say and they would just dismiss it. But it's like, yeah, of course we would, because you're being ridiculous, like.
Could be. Explore this with me. And again, I've done a lot in my life. I've lived a lot of lives. So in my cultural view, cuddling is inherently sexual. Is cuddling inherently sexual to you? I don't know your perspective.
It is or it isn't. What?
My cultural view, and again, I've done a lot in my life. I've lived a lot of lives. So in my cultural view, cuddling is inherently sexual. Is cuddling inherently sexual to you? I don't know your perspective.
Yeah, I mean, maybe yes. I don't know. I can't think of no, yes. I don't know. I cuddle with my wife and it's non-sexual. But if you just met somebody and you're cuddling with them, then like it's going to be interpreted as it's a form of intimacy that is considered a builder into like another movement. And it really depends on, for my wife and I, we'll just cuddle. Sometimes we do fuck when we cuddle. We'll get close and intimate and whatnot. A lot of it's just doing like skin to skin contact to like pass pheromones on, guys, because we're gay like that. But like if you're cuddling with somebody that you just met after you're drinking and there's no reason for, like you're pushing forward intimacy in a one-on-one situation. So like you're communicating that you're comfortable there and generally that you might be comfortable with a little more, and that's when you do like the slight boundary push, because that's what happens. It's one of the issues with like men and women, but it's more expectations on men to initiate or to that next level. So like if a girl's letting you cuddle with them, like maybe you put your hand on their thigh, and if you're like okay with that, maybe you can move up and you can kind of like rub on their titty, right? And if they're not okay with that, you stop. I understand how it can be uncomfortable for some girls because it's like, oh man, like this is putting me in an awkward situation. I feel like if I say no, I might get this and I might get that. I would say don't put yourself in casual scenarios like that then if you don't, if you can avoid it. But I mean, like, yeah, I mean, it's communicating some level of sexual nature.
I don't know if I want to go down the cuddling route. I mean,
it's definitely in this instance a fucking. It's definitely in this instance, it's an intimate act. or a sexual act, or it's moving towards a sexual act.
She admitted that she would spoon with him too. I think to
What
act as
about
if
spooning?
two adults who are the opposite sex who are cuddling and spooning for over an hour.
Spoon with me, daddy. I can't believe he waited an hour, by the way. Fucking beta, am I right? Loser. Hour? You cuddling with this girl for an hour and then you finally like make a move? What are you, gay? Just kidding, but seriously.
For just 2 days of knowing each other at night at some VidCon after party thing. I mean, to act as if there wasn't some kind of flirtatious context going on here would, I think, be
Sure.
Nah, I'm 19 and my mom would love to cuddle me still. She will always think of me as her baby. It's affectionate. That's fucking weird, man. Are you a girl? I understand girls do weird shit like that, but guys don't cuddle. That's weird. I don't know.
It's honest.
No, I agree with you. There is the possibility of flirtatiousness.
Like maybe I mean, I think it's a fucking stretch to say that maybe she interpreted this as just like an intimate thing, but not like a sexual one. It was more of like a friendship thing. But that's a hard ass sell for me. I don't think I'll ever believe that. If you're that fucking naive, then I don't know what to tell you. At 18, you think that cuddling with there's no way. There's no way. I just don't believe it. I just don't believe that she might have just been cuddling for the fun of it or something. Like, no.
Does the flirtatiousness allow for the ramping up, right? So where does your line
Yes, that's the general idea. The ramping up within reason is allowed when it comes to like a flirtatious scenario. And if she sets like a hard no boundary, then you stop. Or she sets it doesn't have to be a hard, just any no boundary, then you stop. But like, she got up at one point. She could have left. She could have stopped. There was no duress. There was nothing like that. So like, yes, that's like how the dynamic typically works between men and women. Like, trying to get at that shit. You know what I'm saying? Thank you so much, Tickle Goblin, for the $2. Romantic and sexual are two very different things. I guess.
personally draw? Because like, imagine you're Katie. You're on the couch. You've just cuddled. And everything seems pretty normal. And she also said they were group cuddling. A lot of people said that too. They were group cuddling on
When did they say they were group cuddling? What? Okay.
Couch. That's very normal. I've group cuddled with my friends. I've slept in the same bed as my friends.
That's just bizarre behavior to me. But okay.
I've done camping trips with my friends. That
Is it
all seems
normal?
like pretty normal.
Is it normal to group cuddle someone you've known for 2 nights who's the opposite sex?
No, it's not. I can understand women like group cuddling with other girls and like it being normal. I see jokes that people make about how like, oh, we have to dismiss the lesbian allegations because we're too affectionate with each other, kind of thing. Like, I get that, but when it comes to another guy, you know what you're doing. There's just no fucking way. It comes to some random fucking stranger, you're gonna sit there and cuddle. There's no fucking way.
That you're attracted to?
It depends on the cultural bubble. If you're sex positive, sure. If you're like
Sex
atheist,
positive.
probably.
If you're sex positive and you're cuddling a lot, like, yeah, that would. Okay.
Atheist, probably, right? Like, what's wrong with like spooning, right? Is there anything inherently bad about it?
Nothing bad about it, but like, just to be clear, touching skin to skin is like an affectionate maneuver, always. So
There's nothing wrong, but that does give the
Right.
context that they are interested in each other. If you're spooning.
Maybe
yeah, no, always. That's what the guy's gonna think.
depends. Well, I've spooned people I am not interested in, right? People have spooned me.
This
I'm
has
not
got to be
interested
like
in, or they're not
5. This has
interested
got to
in.
be a very low percent of humanity we're
Yeah,
talking
yeah.
Well,
about.
that's the thing we're talking about. I
And I
think we
doubt
are
that's
talking about
Katie.
we are talking about a very unique part of society, right? Streamers, successful.
No. Oh shit, this guy's fucking me up. No, I don't. No. Do you think that? I don't think that most streamers are cuddling for funsies. I don't know.
They're 1%ers. They are not normal society. They are kids.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that they have like they're that different when it comes to that. Just because you're a streamer doesn't mean that you're typically, I don't know, cuddling. I don't know. I understand that they're different, but that doesn't make everything about them different. No way.
Kids who were stuck during COVID in their high school years. They're kids who are chronically online. They're not normal kids. And allegedly, some of them are neurodivergent. They're especially. I know.
Is she one of them?
What's his name?
George?
Dream especially is neurodivergent, but like
In what way? And is it meaningful enough to justify this? I don't. Okay.
that's what I mean. I don't think we're talking about average kids. I think we're talking about a very select.
Just because somebody might be different in one way doesn't mean that like every boundary and like typical boundary goes away. I just don't believe that.
Like a group of inexperienced, naive, socially awkward people who don't
I'm
know exactly what the rules are.
I mean, I hear what you're saying for other contexts, but I feel like you have to reach such a high bar of evidence to dismiss that they were cuddling and spooning to say this isn't inherent.
Yeah, I feel like this is like along the lines of like, is incest a good or bad conversation on the internet? Like everybody knows that like if you're cuddling like this, that's generally going to lead to some other behavior. To say that it's a stretch. This is one of the things where it's like, is it possible that streamers aren't that different from regular people? I don't know what to tell you. But is it possible that it's so different? This is so normal in streaming society to cuddle and fucking doing all this. Maybe, but no, I don't think in any meaningful capacity. I don't think so.
Currently flirtatious. Like, we're talking on a crazy odds right now, you know?
Well, based off how they both told the stories, I'm not sure, because George said, right, that it was comfortable and he thought it was okay, but he never even, did he use the word sexual? I think he used the word like comfortable,
No.
like I thought everything was okay, right?
Yeah.
So I'm thinking maybe even he was thinking like, oh, I don't know what might happen tonight. And the fact that he didn't.
Yeah, he's trying to get some. That's probably what he's thinking. Like he wants to, push and see how far he can get to see if he'll fuck her, and she wants to fuck, because dudes always have to initiate when it comes down to it. So.
Even ask her back to his hotel room after the elevator moment, told me that maybe even he wasn't thinking sexual. Maybe he was thinking, I don't even know.
Well, he asked her to hang out. He was probably thinking sexual a little bit. He just wasn't like a sexual deviant trying to like predatorize her or something. Thank you, Ticklegum, for the $2 again. Bree feels very disconnected in the combo. I mean, maybe. I think, I don't know. I think it's some of it's a little debate-brained here.
George has sex. Do we even know if George is sexually active? Like, we don't know anything about these people.
I don't know.
Like, I don't know. So let me tell you.
I mean, I don't know either, but I don't think it's an unreasonable thing to think that he might be. I don't know. I don't think it's unreasonable to think that he was cuddling with a girl he just met that was a fucking legal adult to try to maybe see how far he can go to fuck this girl. I don't know. Maybe that's just my bias as a man.
Imagine you're Katie, you're spooning a person, and maybe it feels comfortable. And after an hour, all of a sudden, his hand is on whatever. That might feel out of the blue, but to George might feel like it makes sense.
That's okay.
I think these two people miscommunicate.
It's possible they miscommunicated, but she's trying to claim that he like sexually assaulted her. So we're not just going to like, I was kind of uncomfortable. It went beyond that, and then they continued to have a friendship afterwards, so I don't think I'm buying that.
And it set each other off. I don't think George intended to go over the boundary, and I don't think Katie is telling a lie, but I do think that in 5 or so years, she might have a different perspective on what happened. Right.
Well, she clearly had a different perspective now than what actually happened. So.
Right. I think she might end up, and I hope she does come to this different perspective that, okay, maybe that wasn't his intention, that maybe I just didn't understand the social situation.
Come on,
and same for George, which I think he admitted, right? He said he obviously feels like something like went wrong. And yeah, it happens, right? Like adulting is accepting that things will go wrong. The question is, are these people bad actors? Are they intentionally malicious? Are they evil, right? And
the worst case scenario for Katie is that she is so disconnected from the reality of the world, though, that she needs an educational reminder because she's falsely claiming she was sexually assaulted. She was not sexually assaulted.
In a philosophy sense, like, are they intending malice on people? And I think that's what I'm more interested in. So do you think like Katie is intending? What does that mean? What do you mean by that?
When you lie about,
I mean, it doesn't matter. I'm not really super empathetic to her case. Like, again, do we just kind of let her off the hook and be like, oh, she just made a silly little mistake? No, because I mean, like, she almost ruined the guy's fucking career. Like, Mr. Beast pulled him off of the whatever not thing that he was doing. So
someone to make them seem more predatory than they actually are, that's malice. You're making them seem more guilty than they are, more predatory than they are. You're doing that maliciously. That's what the definition means.
I was thinking about this. I didn't like that Katie kept trying to read George's mind. Like, she kept trying to put a lot of maliciousness on him. Like, he targeted me. He did it in front of a group of people to make fun of me. She put a lot of, like, negative spin on his actions. And though I could see that being a possibility, I think if we're being honest, like, George doesn't seem like that kind of person. And I don't think Katie, I don't know anything about her any more than George, right? These are new people 41. To me. This was the first time I ever heard about them. So I'm coming in totally, like, just neutral, right? I don't know who these people
I'm coming.
People are.
Whoa,
so
get away from me,
Katie
bro.
And George, I see both awkward people who might not know what they're talking about or doing. And so I didn't like that Katie put all that maliciousness on George, but I'm not sure that she couldn't do that. Like, okay, hear me out.
I mean, like, how far do we go with this? Like, effectively some kind of, like, a cultural difference in this type of thing. How far do we go? Like, oh, yeah, my culture, we hate gay people, so I was, like, beating the shit out of a gay guy, and it's like, that's just what we do in my culture. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know. I don't think that we need to be highly empathetic to this person for no fucking reason.
I feel like we're getting a little in the weeds. Don't you think so?
Well, that's the problem.
I
like,
agree.
When I review content, this is my perspective of my work. So I'm not here to say, like, Katie lied. Like, I don't have evidence that
she did lie. We're not talking about whether she did or didn't lie. We're talking about whether she was malicious in her lie.
Katie maliciously lied. I have evidence that Katie lied about this and this, but why would she lie about those things? Did she think it just sounded good?
You don't have evidence? We don't have evidence that she maliciously lied? So you disagree that she purposely made George seem more predatory so her allegation goes down better to the audience. You disagree with that?
Oh.
Well, no. Brittany's perspective is going to be that she had a feeling that he was, like, more predatory, and so she was using words that communicated that feeling more than that actually communicated reality. I just don't know why this, like, this doesn't really seem like a big debate, and the framing doesn't really make sense because it sounds like she's trying to prove. I don't know. It doesn't. It just seems like such a kind of. I don't know. It doesn't seem. Oh wait. Oh fuck. I'm not auto buying. Fuck.
Oh, no. I could agree with that, but I think she did that. No, I agree that because this is from a branding perspective. If she thinks,
if I was that's why I'm not fucking playing very well, because I've turned auto buy off, so I'm like just pooling a bunch of fucking gold.
he assaulted her, which she does, from our understanding, then she wants to make it as clear to the audience as possible that this is a bad person, so she'll play up and be hyperbolic about the way that it impacted her. Everyone does this when they tell stories. It's like an exaggeration to push the point of...
Not everybody doesn't do this, okay? And it's not justifiable to do something like this.
There's playing up and exaggerating, and then there's lying. Yeah. And she's lied. She said it was them.
Like when people do tell stories, I guess they will play it up and exaggerate sometimes. And like, but we're not just talking about a story. We're talking about something that could be that's credibility damaging to somebody else's career. It goes a little bit beyond just like a silly little bedtime story. You know, like when you're telling us a little story at work, you're flaring it up to entertain people. But we're talking about something that's very serious that could ruin somebody's life, and it feels like we're using that as an excuse to be like, well, everybody kind of plays it up. It's like, okay, everybody gets angry sometimes. Does it mean it's like okay if I beat my wife? The answer is yes. I know I'm being a little extreme, but it's like, again, I feel like sometimes there's like there's too much. I think sometimes we're too empathetic. I think it's okay to be a little less empathetic. Thank you for the $2 from Skibbity Bibbity, terminally online Olympics. A little bit. Maybe a little bit. Oh, come on, dude. I'm fucking playing like shit.
Who tried to make her vulnerable by offering her drinks, and that's just a lie. That's just one of them.
Right, for sure. And I think, I mean, I agree with you. I'm saying I can see why all of those things could be true at the same time. So I can't write her off completely, but I could say we agree Katie's in the wrong here. Yeah, like we agree with that?
Okay, yeah, of course, yeah.
Okay, then we agree with that. So now you and I agree. False accusations are bad. Katie is in the wrong. George is innocent. We agree to all those things?
Yes.
Okay, so then once we agree to that foundation, now my work goes, why would Katie do this? And like, is it because she's malicious? Kind of like a court and a jury, right? Like I don't want a system. I don't want the mob going after 19-year-olds because they feel offended.
So then what else is going to communicate to her that what she did was wrong? Other than people being like, yeah, you did a really bad thing. Because it's not like Katie's still doubling down on that she's right, even though she's in the wrong. So what do we do about that? You know?
I want to know why we're going after 19-year-olds who might have made a mistake. And if
it's a pretty big mistake that could ruin somebody's life. I don't know.
They didn't just make a mistake. How do we hold them accountable through values that are their own or society's? Because these are very complicated issues.
I mean, this is all like social accountability, right? Because there's nothing else that we got except for like social accountability in this instance.
That's right.
I'm sorry, I'm having difficulty understanding like your position. I feel like I say something, you say I agree, but then you disagree right after. I feel like we're having miscommunication somewhere.
I think most people do things because they think it's right.
Yeah.
And the
maybe
deviation.
She thought she was right. She thought she was right, and she thought she was doing a right thing. But regardless, doesn't mean she can't be held accountable and culpable for this. I
mean, the next question could be like, oh, so what do you think being held accountable means? Right. And obviously, I don't think that she should like lose her career or anything. Make fun of her. Make fun of her. That's what I'm saying.
I agree with you.
She can think she's doing something right, but still lie along the way to make George seem more predatory, and she should be held accountable for that.
Yes. Now, how do you want her to be held accountable?
Make fun of her, bully her, body shame her.
That's not interesting to me. I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, I think it's a good question. I mean, like, it's a generally decent question. Like, what do you think that should happen?
I don't think the consequences are that interesting.
Okay, what do you think is interesting then?
Well, like, trying to explain the disagreement in our perspective. Well, like, is the consequence that interesting? What, she should lose her career and lose her channel? Like, I don't know what should happen to her. She should learn from her mistakes. I mean, she still is very young. She's probably gonna learn from her mistakes. The problem is that she's just young and she had these mistakes online. A lot of these people make mistakes in the 90s or whatever, and it's just never broadcasted. They just have to. They don't have to deal with the public pushback because she's a public streamer. She's gonna have to deal with a lot more pushback.
And I agree with that too, right? And
I mean, at the same time, she did put out a blatant false accusation accusing someone of a crime.
Ooh, so she cannot. See, that's where we disagree. You can't put out a false accusation unless you know it's a lie.
Well, no, you can put out false accusation. It would be a misconception rather than a lie, right? Like that would be your argument. You can put out a false accusation. It could still be a false accusation without you lying. I guess it would just be misconception when it comes down to it. But okay.
What?
Well, because we agreed that.
Okay, that's just semantic definition, though. We agree it's a false accusation.
But no.
We agree that the accusation is false. It is wrong. So yeah, it is a little semantic. It's a little bit of a semantics game.
Well, I agree. Well, it depends on who you ask, which is the point of my work as well. Words are contextual to culture. They're not objective. So a false accusation is knowing they didn't do something to you and accusing them of it anyways. And Katie thinks she was assaulted. So she can't falsely accuse him.
Okay. I don't know if this can be literally proven in a judge format to make her like seem guilty, but regardless, I think we're getting this is semantics. You know, I feel like we both understand what I'm saying, right?
Well, no, because we are disagreeing now. Now we are disagreeing because you cannot falsely accuse of someone of something you thought they did.
Okay.
Like she thinks she was assaulted, so she's saying I was assaulted.
Okay.
She's not lying.
Sure. I don't.
Yeah.
Right. But then that's where
Somebody's
I would come in and say,
over here.
okay, girl, like if I could talk to Katie, I'd say, let's talk about how he might have, by definition, in certain cultures, assaulted you, but didn't intend to.
But I don't think any culture would accept that she was assaulted. We're in Western culture, and we're not accepting that she was assaulted. What culture? There's cultures with that are much more okay with sexual assault. That would, I don't know.
Because I think intention matters. Some people don't. I do think it matters.
Well,
Because I
always
think it's the
does,
difference
yeah.
between George, who admitted to touching Katie, right? He didn't say how exactly, but he did say he touched her. And so there's something there, which I think he might have gone off physical. I think he even said
I was just GeorgeIsNotFound, and that guy was Katie, and I just touched him till he fucking died, dude. I'm fucking crazy.
That was a little out of pocket. I'm so sorry.
in your video, correct me if I'm wrong, that like physical cues are important. Well, the world is changing to require verbal cues. And since they didn't use verbal cues, they
Are they
will
really?
run into that.
Is the world really changing like that?
The world is changing to make verbal cues more acceptable, and I think that we should. But that doesn't mean that that nonverbal cues are not acceptable. That's so yeah. I mean, I understand. Like it's like explicit, enthusiastic consent is where we're shifting to. And I think we should go there, but that doesn't mean that just because you're not necessarily doing that now means that you've predatorized somebody. If you're cuddling with somebody for a fucking hour that you just met of the opposite sex, you know what you're doing. So
This is a
and
very
that-
small minority of people.
No, it's hugely changing, and it should.
it's not. We're having a lot of conversations. It is not hugely changing though. Like we haven't moved that far yet. The only people that are really talking about it are people who have not really had sex before, for the most part. You know, but
change in a way to
and like we already know that there's more than just verbal cues in our language too. You know,
mitigate consent violation, right? Because I'm assuming you don't want people getting violated, right? That's not the goal.
No, I
The
do.
goal is to communicate.
okay, he's a fucking idiot. No, I do. Incredible.
Obviously.
Is that a joke? Okay, it's a good joke. Okay, well, you never know, okay? I don't want to like tell you how to think. So the point is like in order to mitigate harm and to say like we want to communicate the best possible. So I agree. I've absolutely verbally communicated with people and it's gone okay. And then I've verbally communicated, it's gone okay. I've written down our intentions. I've talked to friends and said I intend to sleep with this person. We're gonna go have sex. We'll call if anything goes wrong. Like I've done a lot of safety checks with people. I don't know if you've practiced any of those safety checks yourself. Like, hey, do you want to have sex with me? Like I don't mean for you to like tell the internet if you're sexually active or something. That's none of our business. But
You get pussy, Lerix? You get fucking pussy, dude? I don't think this guy gets pussy. I don't know, man. He looks like a Dr. Seuss character. You ever notice that him and Turkey Tom, they all kind of look like Dr. Seuss characters. A lot of them do, actually. I think Tom, Nicholas Diorio a little bit. Bullbox definitely looks like a fucking Dr. Seuss character. He looks like the fucking, he looks like the, he just looks like the shy main character of a story. He kind of reminds me of Ratatouille, but the man. But not in a bad way. You know what I mean? I understand that I look like fucking Gusteau, so.
the
Asexual.
point is, is that a joke?
Yes.
Of course it
Yeah,
is.
you're making a joke because Katie said she's asexual. I get it. Okay. So the point is that what you are seeing as black and white, I'm seeing like as a cultural difference because I know the world is diverse. Like I'm pretty traveled. I've read lots of books. I've like talked to lots of people. I really wish the world all spoke a universal language, but it's pretty clear we don't.
Okay.
So I'm saying the reason I do the work I do is to point out the fact that we are not all saying the same things. And so I think a person
I
who
am.
thinks something happened to them can't falsely accuse somebody of something they think happened to them. I just don't think that's possible. But I
But it didn't happen to them, right? And it's debatable whether she thought it did or didn't, and I don't care what she thinks because she's a poopy head. Thank you for the $5 from Roderick V. Wiener. It says winner or something. Weiner. I don't know. It's incredible. LMAO, prior to meeting my fiance, I would use verbal consent during hookups, and they all thought I was virgin. True. Women think you're a loser when you ask consent. Consent is gay.
I see that you think it's possible, and I think there's something there. I think what we could do
Okay.
instead is tell people like Katie, people didn't intend to hurt
I'm just kidding. I guess it's important.
you, and even though they did, and George apologized for that, and Dream did, which I thought was really, really good of them.
I guess.
Now that we've apologized, we need to learn that how we process information and communication will help mitigate this in the
Come here,
future.
pussy.
So in the future, let's
Ugly.
ask before we touch. Let's have a conversation.
Sure, you should, but still, nonverbal communication is still very. It's still very. We still all communicate more through nonverbal communication. So let's not pretend that doesn't exist.
Yeah,
If we're having problem reading body language, right? So I think we mostly agree. I think our only disagreement is maybe on the like can she falsely accuse someone if she doesn't know, right? Is that the only place we disagree, probably?
Yeah, you could falsely accuse somebody if it would be a misconception. Okay, I'm not lying. It's a misconception.
I'm not sure, but I don't really want to clarify because I feel like it's getting really weird. So if I could just bring it a little back on trail.
Okay. Okay.
So we talked about the line. You
The
gave your opinion
lion, the witch, and the wardrobe, baby.
about that. I brought up the lies by omission, especially of cuddling and spooning. The fact that she only mentioned those details
Spooning.
after her hand was forced by George when he called those out.
That's a fair point.
So I don't know. This girl seems very suspicious.
Yeah, she does brag a lot in her explanations. It might take away from some of her messaging.
The way she's going about this, but regardless, we can move on from that.
Man, this thing
I
goes
think
fucking
by
far,
definition
boy.
that shows she acted in malice because there's proof.
He's going for my camp.
She
so-
knows, but
Oh,
we
he's
can move
not.
on. So at 1:58, 15 seconds in your response video, though, you said there was misinformation in my video and that I got facts wrong. So I want to know where's the
We got facts and logic wrong, bitch.
misinformation and facts wrong that I got.
Bitch.
I think the biggest issue I had with you, and correct me if I'm wrong, was about the misinformation about rape victims and how real victims act. To be fair to you, this is a very common narrative in the world that like all victims act the same. So I think my biggest issue with your
Yes.
content was just that
What is it that you said specifically?
I felt like that's not true. Like victims of sexual assault don't all act the same. Some people
Well, sure, different people will, different people will act differently.
will stay with their abusers. Some people report them to the cops. Some people never tell
Sure.
anyone. Some people only tell their best friends. Some people only tell their therapists. I think that was the biggest issue I had with it.
What if the therapist was really the rapist? They would already know. That's. I'm so sorry. That was very inappropriate. I'm a little wild today.
That was like the misinformation?
I think so. I can't recall at this point what else it could have been. Do you have an idea? Maybe I'm misremembering what else it could have been.
Well, I mean,
What
I
the
think the only
fuck?
thing I said is like imagine being actually like raped and having to look at this girl act as
Yeah.
if she's getting on her soapbox and lecturing other people about
Absolutely, 1,000% agree with that point. Yeah, she's definitely diminishing to actual survivors of assault.
how false accusations hurt real victims, trying to act like a genuine real victim. I think that's just hilarious. Irony.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think about that? Like,
I think that you cuddled with a guy and then he maybe touched your boob a little bit over the shirt. Like, shut the fuck up. Like, the fact that you think that you have any like claim to being some kind of a survivor of assault is insane. Like, I agree with that wholeheartedly. She should feel like shit for that. It's fucking ridiculous. It's like I'm a Boy Scout. It'd be like if I wore like a military outfit and said, "I'm a military veteran, guys. I'm an Eagle Scout." You know, like it's insanely disproportionate.
I've heard that narrative a lot. Like, I've heard people say like she's like ashamed to real victims and stuff.
Yes, 100,000,000% all over that, boy. Till the day I die. Till the day I die. I'm gonna say this about Caitibugzz, yeah.
Like that. I'm not sure I really understand that perspective.
I 1,000% do.
Katie
Mostly because I
hurts
don't-
real victims that come
Yeah.
out with their story. Yes.
It's extraordinarily diminishing because she's not an actual victim. It's the same thing as people who are like, I'm fucking autistic on TikTok when they're not. It's like a very poor representation of people with autism. And it's just like the wrong education about what this thing is. And it's diminishing of people like actual fucking, autism.
Because when you come out with your story and you lie, that hurts real victims, and it's going to put doubt into more people and more women who come forward with their story. That's
True
just
that.
objectively true.
True that, brother.
If she
You
lied,
stink.
right? So the dilemma
You
we're
stink.
having, right?
We already.
We know that she lied. It doesn't. You're just saying that her lie wasn't necessarily malicious. Dude, you suck.
Did
Well,
we not
not-
just cover
not-
that she did lie? We already know that she lied.
Well, she didn't
you
lie
concede
about
that?
George. We didn't lie about George sexually assaulting her, right? We agreed on that. That from her perspective, he did sexually assault her.
No. Who the fuck agreed to that? He didn't sexually assault her in any capacity. What the fuck are you talking about?
We're getting to the weeds. The semantics. She lied in her story, accusing George. That hurts real victims, and that's why people discredited her.
Well,
That
people
hurts
discredit people who
other
don't
women.
lie as well, right? Like I don't think it's. I agree with you that lying hurts and adds to the contribution. But at the end of the day, like one person isn't impacting the movement. This is like saying like
One person with a huge following that
Well, yeah, one person with a huge like that's would actually impact the movement. Like, listen, we're in an online space, and it only takes a few bad experiences with somebody to be bad. That's how a lot of racism happens. You see one black person doing a bad thing, all of a sudden you think all black people are bad. You see one white person doing a bad thing, all of a sudden you think white people are bad. So that's kind of how these things work. So you see like a false sexual assault claim, people are going to think it's ridiculous. And then if you do convince people that this is some form of sexual assault, people are just not going to care about sexual assault because like this is stupid. This is preposterous.
a whole bunch of like the internet has latched onto. Maybe if you're talking about a normal girl in like a friend group, but this is a girl who's had a ton of public news where XQC covers them, big streamers. What do you
Right.
mean? This is a huge example that will make
Okay,
people
but-
disbelieve women who come forward in the future. It's a
shit.
huge.
Right, but just to make sure, even if she lied within the storytelling of her story, doesn't mean she's lying about the essay.
No, but regardless, that discredits her
Put the essay through AI. See if she cheated.
story,
Well,
and that's why people would dismiss her.
I think that's the problem, is like no one is a perfect victim. Like victims of SA
She's not a victim in any capacity though, so.
do lie. Victims of SA can be bad people. Like I don't know. It isn't.
She was not a victim of sexual assault though, so it doesn't matter.
I mean, the essay is okay, right?
Okay. She's
so.
I feel like I don't know. I feel like isn't it pretty obvious what I'm communicating right now? She lied in her story.
Yes.
Therefore, that's going to hurt real victims.
It's getting a little debatey. Like, yeah, she lied in her story. She clearly wasn't sexually assaulted. So
coming out with their story and put doubt on other women who come forward with their story, because people are going to think, oh, dude, Caitibugzz just happened a week ago. She's probably doing the same thing. Amber Heard just happened. They're probably pulling an Amber Heard.
Or more of like, oh, like what does sexual assault mean on the internet now? You cuddled with a guy? Like, that's ridiculous. Yeah, he's 100% right.
This is what puts doubt in people's minds socially.
Yeah, I think that that's the problem of society, though, because if Katie's enough for you to doubt real victims, I don't think the problem's with Katie ultimately. I think it's with you.
No, but like, still, here's the thing. You can't think that. Brittany's not allowed to think that because Brittany is very like humans are going to humans. So you can't say, well, humans are going to human and they're going to have these particular thoughts, feelings, and experiences, and then dismiss the fact that people will generally operate this way when it comes to like receiving information. Like, it doesn't take 100 experiences for people to go, oh no, this is not good. It takes one bad experience with a man for you to say, I'd rather be in a fucking forest with a bear. Even if that's not logical, it's where it comes from like an understanding perspective, right? I get it. So you can't go, you can't have like a whole platform that's humans are going to human and then say like, you can't just let like one situation about a false sexual assault claim that was like highly supported by a very large group of people make you feel distrust when it comes to women coming forward about their experiences. Yes, it can. Like, that's what's going to happen. And then if we don't push back against this hard enough, people are going to think that like people are going to get more frustrated. Like, you have to push into how bad these are, or people are going to be more like, oh, so she even got away with it too, because that's what's happening. Like, if people did have like this perspective that Brittany did, then basically she's getting away with like her bad behavior. That would be what's happening here.
But I do agree with you in general, because people are sheep. They will think, oh, well, this one girl must represent all women, which makes no sense, right? Like, it makes no sense for that to be the case in terms of statistics.
I'm not arguing whether it's justified if society does it or not.
Right.
I'm speaking that on the assumption that this is society and this is what happens in society. And because society's the way it is, she is hurting real victims who come out with their story and putting doubt in their story.
I agree that's how people perceived it. I think that's why, like, look, you took the side that a lot of people took, which is great. And a lot of people...
Thank you so much for the small gut, by the way, Freakazoid.
Well, took Katie's side, and that's great. And then here's my little channel where I'm like, can we do something different with this story? And then here we are having this conversation. Why do you think it's important that like, what does it matter what Brittany thinks if I'm like the one person who's like, let's look at this from a philosophy perspective, bros? Because that's
is this a philosophy perspective? The only thing that could be important, the only thing that Brittany is saying that it's not unimportant, is like, is a whole conversation about how people might be engaging in bad behavior without trying to be malicious. And that's a nice conversation to have. And if that's what her point is, that's fine. But it doesn't feel like that's her point. Like, it feels like that's the box. That's the fucking box, and it's nicely wrapped, and there's a nice bow. But the president inside is Katie is kind of innocent. That's how this conversation feels, and I'm a woman, so I base everything off of feelings. But that's how this kind of feels. Like, I think it's a good conversation to have of like, okay, let's talk about people's motivations and like, are they being malicious, or is this kind of an instance where things are more complicated than they are. I think that's perfectly fine. Like, there's so many instances where it would be better if we understood that people maybe just have a difference in opinion, or they're flawed in some kind of a way, rather than thinking that they're always malicious. But it doesn't feel like that is a fine perspective, but it just doesn't feel like that is the perspective that's happening here. Right?
That's like what I do. That's my niche.
I don't deeply care about what you think. I just think it's interesting content to have a conversation. Do we have to have like a big
right? So like,
thing?
you're here for clicks and views, right? Like, you're here for clicks and views.
Of course, everyone is. Yes.
Well, to an extent, sure. Yeah.
Okay. I'm here for money.
Right.
Based money alert.
Okay, so like, that's great. But that's what I'm saying is like, I'm here for the answers and to make money.
Well, you're there for okay, I'm sure that Lerix is there okay, just to be clear. I don't know if she's doing it on purpose. It makes it seem like you were saying that Lerix is just here for the money. I'm sure he believes what he's saying as well, just like Brittany believes what she's saying.
So I'm actually here because this is my hobby.
What is the relevance of this?
The point is, like, in order to have this conversation in a way that might make sense to you, you have to understand my motivations, just like you have to understand Katie's motivations. So you want to argue and debate me and something I don't do for a living. My job as a living is this. I dissect things. So the reason our conversation might not work for clicks and views is because I don't do this for clicks and views outside of my field.
I don't know what that means. Like, I like people watching my content, but I don't lie. And I feel like, cousin texted me. Yeah, I feel like that's what she's saying. And they're like, yeah, sure, but clicks and views. Yeah, everybody wants clicks and views. That's why we're posting on the internet.
My field is in dissecting information. So I can pretend to fight with you, but like this is what I think does matter. This is how I have the conversations. That's what I'm saying. I don't know if you meant to hit me up because you thought we were going to debate.
We're going to kiss.
But if I wanted to debate, I would have been a debater.
Okay. I don't mean to fight you. Okay, no fighting. This isn't fight night. We're not fighting.
Sure.
Just I disagree with you, and we're speaking about the matter of the situation. So let's
okay, yeah.
I just want to talk about the details of the situation, not this big meta. Why we're here, my motivations.
Oh, here's something. Okay, here's you basically are saying I don't want you to do your job because that's my job. So okay, I'll jump into your job.
You can do what you want. Okay, I'm just trying to explain so we get on trail here, to discuss the story, right?
Oh
okay, how about this? Something you said that did upset me. Okay.
Yeah, she's a bit of a debater. This comes off as a little debatey. It's interesting. Okay.
You discounted Katie, George, and Dream's perspective. I think you called Dream and George like a beta or something. Correct me if I'm wrong.
True. That's true. They're fucking betas, dude. Beast.
Probably called them like snakes for fucking over their friend and throwing him under the bus.
Tell me about that. Tell me about that perspective, because I honestly...
What did Dream do to throw his friend under the bus? I thought that he kind of sided with him.
I think those friends should get lost if they didn't check with George first. Like, fuck those people, right?
Yeah, I believe you said I didn't have enough empathy to understand that Dream and Sapnap didn't actually throw George under the bus, which, yeah, I mean, they didn't completely cut ties, of course, with them, but they disavowed him publicly, saying he did a fucked up thing and supported his false accuser.
Did they do that? I don't remember that part. So
I don't know. If my friends did that, I would classify that as them throwing me under the bus and fucking me over, like 100%.
Sure.
Well,
I mean, if they did do that, George would be like, "Yeah, I understand," because like publicly you can't destroy their career or whatever. I don't necessarily, But if they did throw him under the bus, and like that's some cowardly loser fucking behavior, and that's why people get away with bad behavior because people don't call them out hard enough. Which I feel like is happening here a little bit.
My understanding, did you hear something different? I heard they're all still friends, and that what they did was...
I didn't just say it. I just said they didn't cut ties. They just disavowed him publicly and fucked him over by that.
Well, in public, okay, so when I covered this story, a bunch of their viewers came into my stream, and from my understanding of the bubble, their little ecosystem, they all agreed, including George, that they feel bad for Katie, that he apologized to Katie, that he did wrong by Katie, but also it was not malicious. They didn't mean to hurt Katie, and they're sorry she feels that way. So they did apologize to Katie, and they supported George, which is, by the way, I think the most mature outcome. What do you think?
I guess, sure.
So I think they're kneeling to public pressure. At first,
there's probably a level of truth to that. Yeah, I mean that's why they're so successful, because they'll kneel to public pressure at times that they need to. And you have to find a fine line between, appeasing the public and saying what you want to say. It's easier for some people, like for my type of content. Like obviously I can kind of like I can say whatever I want. I'm not a fucking Minecraft YouTuber, but yeah, no, I think you should be. They shouldn't throw your friend under the bus, but. Whatever. I mean, as far as it goes, it seems like they're pretty, they're more supportive of George in this case than, friends typically are on the internet when it comes to like these false accusation stories.
Dream was on George's side 100%. Then the pressure got a little bit too high. It got a little bit too hot for him. And then he went on an impromptu Twitter space and started crying live on the Twitter space saying George did a fucked up thing.
Yeah, see, crying's gay. Duh.
Please support Katie on his hands and knees, begging like for forgiveness. I think that's pretty clear what his motivations were there.
I think you're doing that thing where you're like, I don't know if it's pretty clear.
Okay.
We don't have to get into the like whole semantics of the motivations or not, but regardless, like the thing
I'm not like just particularly interested in this particular part of it. To be honest with you,
that you push back on me is saying is that this isn't fucking him over. Where I don't know, I think that is the disavowing him publicly and supporting his false accuser over nothing. Even if this did happen, this is nothing.
Yeah.
Even if it did happen, it's nothing, and they're supporting Caitibugz.
Wait.
Not
You're saying
backing
if
their
George
friend.
did assault her, it would be nothing?
what?
Under what happened, what Caitibugz said happened, that is not. I mean, if we want to get into the semantics of what sexual assault is, regardless, I'm looking at the actions, and I see no problem with the actions. It was a slow progression of flirting, touching. She positively reciprocated.
Oh, balls in my penis!
I have no problem with those actions.
I'm gonna die. Holy fuck.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I have a problem with people having social mistakes, but I think if you hurt people, you should apologize. And I think you should move on. I think George should apologize and Katie should move on.
What if I said you hurt me in this conversation by being too rude? Would you like apologize to me? Would you think that's like a justified apology?
I would definitely say that my intention is not to be rude, and if that is very serious, obviously I'm not trying to be rude. And
Well, it's not very serious. So.
I hope you know that.
No, but what I'm
Right?
trying to explain is that it's bullshit. Like, just because someone says something about you doesn't mean you now have to apologize.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree with that too.
I agree with that. But George, I think genuinely, and so
Wait,
did Dream, felt it necessary to apologize. I'm saying I don't think they're doing it to fake. I think they actually believe they should apologize
Okay.
for making her feel uncomfortable.
I mean, maybe. Sure, it's possible.
Right?
Yeah, they might have actually felt like she was made uncomfortable. But okay.
Okay. I think that's I just disagree with the fact that George needs to apologize. I think he didn't do.
Well, it's not does he need to apologize. It's like does he actually feel like he wants to apologize because he feels like he might have hurt her, right? Like he might actually believe that. So
That's fine. Yeah. Yeah, that's totally fine, right? And again, I think like sometimes like I think that's the dilemma. So now you're projecting your morals onto George and everybody else, and you're saying everyone should think like me.
How? Explain.
Well, because you're saying I don't think it's wrong, so therefore George did something silly by apologizing, and I'm saying, but George thought it was wrong, so he apologized.
I mean,
and
yeah,
that
sure.
should be good enough.
That's my personal opinion. I feel like I back it
sure.
up pretty strongly though. But sure, it's my opinion.
Damn, he's fucking
Yeah, but I think that's the point. Is like you do this thing which is fine in your video where you basically you're making the video about you. It's not really about them. So you don't care about their opinions or what they think about you. Care about yours, which is totally fine. And I
care about their opinions, and I'm critiquing their opinions. That's what the video is.
Bree does come up as a little condescending here.
Okay, so then like I guess agree to disagree, right? Like you're taking a moral high ground. You're trying to like make it sound like you have the best opinion. I just think you have one.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I think I have the best opinion too. Yo, fuck off, dude. Ah!
Many opinions, and I don't think it's the best.
This guy's a lane bully, guys. I can't beat him in lane. I gotta hit level 6.
I think it's probably one of the worst, but like it's fine.
Can you?
I mean, I feel like everybody thinks that they have the best opinion, no? Oh fuck, I got 6 seconds on that. Oh, I'm dead. I'm fucking dead.
Expand on that
what I
little?
mean? I think it's not well-rounded enough. I think it doesn't take into account different cultures and different people's belief systems. I think it doesn't honor the people involved.
It's fine to take other people's perspective into consideration, but like, I would find it weird if you didn't think that your perspective was like the best, generally speaking, on its topic. It means that you don't hold. Brittany clearly thinks her perspective is the best. She just also factors in other cultures into it. So I would think Lerix is a weak person if he didn't think that what he thought was right or the best, so to speak.
I think it doesn't include a lot of like understanding about like why people do what they do. I think it makes sense. I think you explained yourself clearly. I think you
Oh shit! I think he died when he dove me.
have a worldview that makes sense to you. I just don't think it.
Yo,
it
fuck
maps onto
off.
Other people.
Ugly
and I think
bitch.
the world is diverse and doesn't revolve around me. So I think your content felt a little bit like it revolves around your narrative, which is fine. That's mostly the world. But yeah, that's probably my disagreement is that it just felt a little bit like fuck George, fuck Dream, fuck Katie.
Well, here's the
fuck
thing.
anyone.
I can listen to what they're saying. I can understand why they did it. I have a pretty good assumption why George did this thing, why Dream did this thing, why Sapnap did all these things. I can still critique it at the same time, though. Is your problem that just I'm critiquing it at all and not only listening but just agreeing with them?
No. It's definitely not that. Like, agree to disagree, right? And ultimately, my video about you is agree to disagree. Like, I just don't agree. But I think
you said there was misinformation and facts wrong, and that it was the worst video on the topic. I feel like you're, I don't know, you're really hot in your video, but now you're coming.
Whoa, hey, a little spicy in here.
On, it's a much more, neutral conversation, and
to
it's
be
much
fair,
more.
to be fair, you know how it is when you're alone on stream and you're like riling up the audience, and it's a lot of fun. Okay, like I'm a little bit more heated on stream.
Well, I don't really try to rile up the audience. That does suggest that you're being performative, just to be clear. And like, you know, I don't ever try to rile up my. I just get riled up sometimes. I turn into a little bit of a dog.
For sure, than I am
Sure.
when I'm talking to people.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, leave me
for
alone.
Sure. Take it with a grain of salt, I guess. Like that, I'm just like being entertaining as well. But no, I do think that I was disappointed.
I have like a whole wave
with
of me.
then, and I mean this with the utmost respect. As an older sister with 7 younger siblings, are you 20? Are you really 20 years old?
Freshly 20 on the market.
Okay.
Wow, freshly 20 and freshly out of fucking college, dude.
Freshly 20. Okay, so like with peace and love, I have 15 years on you, and I am assuming, I don't know how much you read. You probably have read as much as I have, or maybe not, but I've read like thousands of books.
Yeah, listen, here's the thing. Sometimes I will tell people, like, age is a factor when it comes to like life experience. I probably not helping you just to be like, listen, I'm 15 years old anyway, so I just know better than you. You know what I mean? I don't know. It comes off as condescending a little bit. It doesn't really communicate a point. I can't get elastic for my fucking balls. This thing's fires too slow.
I've traveled countries.
What is it supposed to mean to me?
Well,
she's saying that like you can't be right because you're a young person, you know. And again, I know I do it too sometimes. Although I feel like I haven't done it in a while. But you know, yeah, I don't know.
it means that I have like so many different cultural references and people's like way of living in my head. So when I observe a situation,
listen, when it comes to cultural shit, I don't understand how that's super relevant because only Western culture would ever potentially accept that this was sexual assault. No other culture would be like, yeah, you guys were cuddling for an hour and then he tried to touch your boob. Like, that's rape. No other culture is doing it. I did not want to do that.
This isn't an argument. This isn't any information. Like you're not giving any argument. You're just appealing to your age.
True that.
You know that, right?
Well, I'm saying the age has given me time to do all this research and to consume all this content. I could have been 35 and never consumed this content for sure. 100.
So, this is just not an argument. If you disagree about something I'm saying, that's fine. But this isn't an argument.
Oh, you fucking goofed, bitch.
This is a waste of oxygen right now.
Come on.
Okay.
How the fuck did he get away? I'm gonna poop in my balls.
I mean, sorry. I'm getting into debates, but like, I don't know.
It's not that. It's like we're coming from very different experiences, so different perspectives. So we're going to disagree, and you're focused on the argument, and I'm not arguing for anything. What do you mean
you're not arguing for?
Dude, I thought I was gonna be able to back. Oh my god, I'm getting fucking dumpster.
What does that mean?
Because I'm not trying to change your mind.
What? That's what you've been trying to do the whole time. What?
Okay, what are you doing then? You're talking without arguing? I feel like these are just semantics. Like, clearly you're making your...
Well, she is trying to change his mind. That's why she's having this conversation. What does she mean?
Your argument by explaining your position, right?
Well, so, okay, making a prescription, trying to change someone's mind, is insinuating that you have the right answer. I'm more about exploring ideas and figuring out who has the right answer, because it might not be me.
I don't think that you think that, though, because you're insisting that Lerix is wrong. And you're right, which is fine, but don't say that. Like, if you think you have the right idea, like, that's perfectly fine. Again, I think I have the right idea. That's what you're trying to do. It's very clear from this conversation that you're trying to communicate that you're correct and he's not correct. You're telling him that you have more life experience, so that you are more correct than him. I don't know. It sounds like some of the things she's saying they're not matching up with some of the things that she's doing here.
But also, I have to know how you got to where you are. So when I tell you a little bit about me, I'm telling you how I got to my conclusions. I'm explaining the math problem to you and not just giving you the answer. But it sounds like you just want the answer. The answer is 69.
What?
Does that make sense? Yeah, see, it doesn't make sense. So I'm trying to explain how we got to 69. But you feel like the explanation doesn't make sense to you.
Okay.
But also you know what I mean? So
okay, I think we should, can I get us back on trail a little bit? Is that okay? I have another question.
He's going to go for this. Can I beat him on this?
Human's gonna human. Like in the mug.
Based.
Okay, so in 22 minutes in your video, you said, in your opinion, Katie is freshly 18 until she is 19. This sentence is a contradiction inherently, though. How can Katie be freshly 18 for the entire duration that she is 18? Doesn't that defeat the purpose of how we use these words in the first place?
Yeah, what does that mean?
So literally, if we're only talking about age, she would be considered somewhat 18 or a little into 18 or halfway through 18. But the insinuation of the context of the conversation was, I'm freshly 18 because it mattered, because she was naive and young and didn't know anything. I think all 18-year-olds are young. And
that doesn't mean anything. When you say you're freshly something, it means that you just turned that thing. It has nothing to do with your mental. Katie's not trying to communicate that she's naive or timid or this, that, and the other thing. And again, 19-year-olds don't think that they're naive. So I don't know, or 18-year-olds. No, I don't. These are just not things that are happening. I don't accept these as like potential answers of like what's actually happening here. Oh, he fucking flashed.
Naive and don't know anything. So the way she's using it is, my assumption is, freshly 18 is meant to signify naivety, which exists throughout the whole age of 18.
So yes, she's trying to communicate that she's naive. That doesn't mean that she actually believes that. I guess. It sounds to me it's more that she's trying to like emotionally provoke people into like thinking like, oh, I'm just an 18-year-old, I'm a baby. Like that's what she's trying to do. Dude, die.
18 and even into 19 and 20 and whatever. Like
when she says freshly 18, what I'm getting out of that is she's trying to tell us like I'm too fucking stupid to do anything. She's trying to remove agency and autonomy off of herself, but she's an 18-year-old. She has the ability to make decisions. She's old enough to know for right and wrong. And if she doesn't know right and wrong, that's because her life she was too coddled in her life, where she clearly didn't know it wasn't wrong to drink alcohol at 18, but whatever, right? But like I feel like we're intellectualizing something so simple. This act is not inappropriate that they engaged in. So we need to stop. We need to give her punishment for that. Like, just because you don't know that something is illegal doesn't mean that you don't get arrested for it. Ignorance of the law isn't an excuse to break the law, right? We could say, like, I mean, if you wanted to say, like, oh, I don't think that she was being malicious, that's fine. But like, we're being so charitable to her in this conversation. I just feel like it's not good. It's not a positive outcome. Oh, fuck.
That's what I'm saying in my work. I'm saying, if her point was that she was newly 18 without any baggage attached to it, whatever. But the baggage attached to it is that she's naive because she's freshly 18. And my argument is all 18-year-olds are freshly 18.
So can I be fresh?
Well, no. Okay, whatever. I don't care. This just seems silly.
Can I be freshly 20? When does it end? Can I be freshly 21, freshly 22?
Well, it actually changes. So Dr. Kirkonda, who's a therapist in Seattle, but he has a YouTube channel. He says like, oh, you guys are so young. You're just kids. You're in your 30s, because he's in his 50s. I think when you're old, everyone is young. So I'm a kid to people. Most people.
Yeah, I think that 18-year-olds are fucking, like, I think you're a fucking kid, but she's old enough to make some decisions. So she's old enough to make this decision.
People who meet me, who are older, they're like, "Oh my God, you're such a baby." I'm like, "I know, thank you," because I'm 35. I'm a baby. So obviously it's contextual. I would say that in Brittany's opinion, if I would say like, what age would I start looking at people a little bit more seriously? Probably 28,
okay,
27, 28.
I guess just what I'm disagreeing on is that you use this as a defense to like defend Katie in a sense. You brought this up in your video saying, well, you know, freshly 18. You like dismissed the point saying she's freshly 18 the entire duration.
That seems like what her kind of point is to like dismiss a lot of what the criticism that's going on to Katie. Thank you so much for the $5 from LM0956. I generally don't understand Brittany's point. Is it just to be nice to Caitibugzz because she believes her own story? I don't know. Like, again, I think that like maybe fundamentally she's just trying to communicate that Katie wasn't being malicious, and that's fine. Exploring the concept of people doing things not because they're malicious, but because they're like they're ignorant, you could say, and that might be possible. But the way that it sounds like it feels like she's using that argument as a battering ram to defend Katie's bad behavior. That's what it feels like here. I think that's my biggest takeaway out of this entire conversation. So
she's 18, and that's just inherently a contradiction of a sentence. That just makes no sense. How can someone be freshly 18 the entire time? That's like what I'm pushing back on.
I know, but the point she was making is what I agree with her on, that she was naive. And that, from my understanding, her parents or her mom, I don't remember who, sent her friend with her to watch her.
Are you like mind reading her position right now? I thought we weren't assuming. Like, that's a big point you made in your videos, not to assume.
But that's the context. So like, that's the context of the video. The context of the video is to show she's making a case for why she's naive, and she's like, I'm freshly 18, and that's like, okay, so she's 18. That's like,
yeah, but do you know the purpose why she said she was freshly 18? She used this phrasing purposely to make George look more predatory than he actually is.
So she's just saying, well, you don't really know if that's how she felt, you know?
She said she was like an adult, that would be fine. But she chose this wording on purpose, and then got called on the fact that she wasn't freshly 18, then lied to cover it up.
Yeah, but that's normal, isn't it? That's so human, dude. Everyone does that. Politicians do that. News anchors do that.
You can't say that this is such a human behavior and then dismiss the human behavior of being frustrated about false accusations. It doesn't really work out. I'm gonna get ganked.
YouTubers do that. That is so everywhere. Everyone does. You're doing it.
Like, again, like that's one of the things. Earlier she had said that like, oh, her whole thing is humans are gonna human. Then Lerix brings up, well, one false accusation can lead to people thinking that women lie all the time. And she's like, no, that'd be stupid if you thought that. And now it's like, well, people lie about everything all the time, and everybody. She's very inconsistent in her argument here. It's a little grating.
So you can't critique it?
No, you can critique it, but I think you're critiquing it in a way that doesn't allow for the truth to come out. It's too biased. It's like,
well, how is it biased to say like, hey, I think that she lied about this thing to be disingenuous? I don't understand.
You're doing it now. You're putting so much on her. Like you're putting so much responsibility on her that I'm not sure you're being fair to her either. Like, do you think you could be fair to Katie? Like, do you think you're being fair to her?
Yes.
Okay. Well, you know, that's the thing, right? I think I'm being fair to Katie and George as well.
Okay, that's cool. But I'm explaining like points why I believe this way, and that she said she was freshly 18 to make George look more predatory than he is. Like, that is, do you disagree with that? She did that to make him look more of a predator.
Well, I think she did that to make it a point, right? If I was 20.
Okay, maybe is that you're saying that's how she felt, that she genuinely felt a certain way, so she said this thing to communicate a point. Maybe I don't know what if that's different than saying everybody does this. Again, if your position is she was trying to communicate her emotions more than she was trying to communicate what actually happened, like, okay, fine. I think it's silly, but fine. But okay.
22.
A point of what? A point of what? A point of what?
Well, I agree with you to make it clear that he's a predator.
Oh, okay.
That he's picking on younger women.
Okay,
I agree with you.
So okay, gotcha.
But
he's not a predator, so
making it sound like she's maliciously doing it. I'm not sure she's planning it.
I think it's more likely that she did it maliciously than she did not do it maliciously. Like, anytime I give her the benefit of the doubt, it is the benefit of the doubt. It is giving her like extreme charitability where it's not even deserved, just for the sake of argument. So like, yeah, I think it's more likely that she did this maliciously to try to cancel him than she actually feels like she was fucking a predator. She was like predatorized.
So much as she's doing a good strategic.
Well, I've already explained how she has done that because she lied.
Well, I know, but like no. There's two different kinds of planning. When I went to court to defend myself, you have to plan a good case. Even if you're innocent, you have to be strategic. You're implying that because she's strategic, she's guilty.
What it sounds like you're saying, what? Hold on. I really need to know what she means by this. This sounds really weird and almost scummy.
And I'm saying no. I'm saying
because she's strategic, she's guilty. Yeah, but what if the
you're saying that it's okay to use the strategy of lying as long? I don't understand. Like, why? What the fuck is she talking about?
strategy is literally lying and over-exaggerating to the point of just misinformation.
Exactly. So
that's
do
the
we know
problem.
which one it is? But do we know which one it is? For real, for real. Or
As
do
I
we just
explained
think
earlier,
we
yes,
do?
because we have the text message proof showing that it was her and her friends who suggested get the alcohol.
Yes,
I don't know. I feel like
But okay, if you take now it's like we're like a judge and jury. I think it's fine that you came to the consensus you did, but you feel like I came to the wrong consensus. And I'm saying what's
Well, you think that he came to the wrong. I don't. Okay.
the difference from me saying you came to the wrong one and you saying I came to the wrong one? What's
Just I don't know. That's what this conversation's about. No.
the difference? You think that,
because I believe
Yeah.
I have evidence and facts to back up what I'm saying, and you don't.
exactly. And I believe I don't have enough evidence or facts to come to a conclusion. So the one I came to, I'm open to changing. But the evidence isn't going to come from you. It's going to come from Katie, George, and Dream. Well, Katie and
Okay.
George, right? Because I've seen the same evidence you have, and I still came to a different conclusion. I saw the videos, I saw the text messages, I read them out to my stream. My stream and I also agreed, like, yep, like maybe
Well, yeah, that's your sphere. Obviously, his sphere is going to agree with him, and your sphere is going to agree with you. It doesn't really mean anything.
could be a predator. Katie could be fucking tricking all of us on the internet. We could all be dumb as fuck, and maybe you're so right, and I'm gonna, need to call you up in a month and be like, bro, you totally fucking called it. For sure. But I'm not willing.
I feel a little bit tipstery, this defense. We don't know it's a lolicon until the artist says it's a lolicon. It might be a 10,000-year-old dragon wizard. I don't know. Like, I understand we don't 100% know, but we can make reasonable assertions about what's going on here.
To come to a definite conclusion. So my definite conclusion, I feel like, is more realistic, which is like miscommunication, awkward
done,
communication.
bitch.
Maybe Katie has somebody in her life that said, tell this story, and we're assuming it's the friends. Maybe it's not the friends. Maybe it's somebody else,
Okay,
right?
yeah, we can move on from this point. I guess just the disagreement with the awkward communication.
I'm getting
Yes, there's
fucking
miscommunications,
stuffed.
but then there's lies. So there's both.
sure.
different
Fuck
things
you,
there.
bitch.
I agree. I agree. They're different. Mhm.
We can move on to the next thing, I guess.
sucks.
So
You never
what is
catch
this?
me.
Around in like 38 minutes in your video, when you react to me showing how Katie blatantly lied, you dismiss it by saying, "I don't know why we're attacking a 19-year-old. Like any of you are better. What is this point? Katie should be."
Again, like, if she's in the wrong, how is she going to learn unless she's getting a punishment and people are criticizing her? Fundamentally, if you're saying, well, she's only 19, why are we giving her shit? If you're saying, like, she's 19, give her a break, that's fine. But, like, why are we giving her shit? Because that's how you learn. Like, you make mistakes and then people are like, you did a wrong thing. If your argument is that she deserves less of a punishment, that's fine. But, like, you have to still give her shit, or else she thinks that what she did was okay.
Be exempt from criticism after making a false accusation about lying about George. So yeah.
Okay, don't think it's a
And
false
I'm not-
accusation. We don't know if it is, right? So you have to take that out of your narrative.
It's a false accusation. It is false. It is verifiably not correct, her accusation.
You have to ask me the question without that narrative. Like, do you think
Is she
Katie should
exempt
be
of
held
criticism
accountable?
for lying about George?
Okay,
Come here, ugly.
no. If about the cell phone lie, no, she should be held accountable for like misrepresenting that. And absolutely, the way we would hold her accountable is probably by unsubscribing, right? That's like how the internet can work. You don't have to send her death threats, which she's got.
Well, no, you don't have to send her death threats, but we can say that she's a wrong, stinky, smelly little poopy head. Make fun of her,
And she's gotten so much heat, so don't do that, right?
Not good. She deserves it. Thank you for the $2 from Dummy Durs. Hey, Airsoft Fatty, love the stream. Keep it up. Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
But like unsubscribe, maybe don't trust her. Maybe give her a chance to come back
But I never subscribed to her.
from it. Maybe
If you want to say, I don't think that when she comes back, people should constantly, like, never let this go, that's fine. But it sounds like you're saying, in general, what's being communicated to people, this is how I'm feeling, okay? And I'm always right about how I feel, okay? It feels like you're trying to say that she really doesn't deserve any real criticism or punishment.
maybe. Who knows?
And you're using the, the excuse that she might not be malicious.
But I don't think 19-year-olds are exempt, but I think I meet them where they're at. I don't treat a 19-year-old like a 35-year-old. I don't treat everyone the same. I treat everyone based off of the context of who they are, and that's how the law works. That's how people judge people.
Okay, so the law does take people's intentions into consideration, but one of the things you're saying is she didn't know it wasn't sexual assault or something. That would not be taken into consideration necessarily. Like, I don't know. Like, again, ignorance of the law, it doesn't exempt you from laws. So, but okay.
We treat people usually better or worse if we know them or don't know them. So I see 19-year-olds and I think, okay, undeveloped brain, not socialized, probably mentally ill.
I mean, it just comes
I'm probably mentally ill. What the fuck?
across as like a dismissive
If everybody's mentally ill, then nobody's mentally ill. How long are we going to use that excuse? Like, oh, they might be mentally ill.
defense when you say, I don't know, why are we attacking this girl? She's only 19. Why are we attacking this girl? Like, what?
It's because people are going harder on Katie than other adults in the space. And I also,
What do you mean? What that means?
to be fair, had just covered the Andrew Huberman case, and my audience and I are up to date with things. So I'm also talking to my audience, right? I've got to learn as a YouTuber when I make my clips to assume people that aren't my audience will see them and how they might read the context. But like, obviously, like even Andrew Huberman, who's a Stanford professor or like a scientist, sorry, for Stanford, he just got outed, and like that doesn't matter. And he's a grown up. They're holding him less accountable, than they're going to hold Katie. But again, like Katie's 19. People lie. Like this grown man was caught lying. Nobody gave a fuck. You know what I mean? Nobody gives a fuck. So the point.
I mean, I don't know who that person is. Part of that was going to be like, what sphere are they in when it comes down to it? So, like, what sphere is that person in? They're in the Minecraft online sphere. I don't know. Okay. I mean, I don't know what the fuck is going on with this Huberman person.
I was making was just that it's funny that the internet keeps going for Katie so hard, but they won't go for any of these other people who are adults. And I just think we pick and choose. I think Katie's an easy target. I think she's annoying, and people.
Well, it's just the popularity of the topic. You know, she's going after a 10 million subscribers.
I mean, she's an easy target. She's lying about sexual assault. Like, it doesn't matter if she's. It doesn't matter if she is misconceived or not. She's wrong about it. So.
Subscriber YouTuber. That's probably why it has the most attention.
Yeah, of course. Absolutely, right? And then she's rolling in those circles and like, oh my gosh, I've been to so many VidCons in my life. I've hung out with so many YouTubers. It's
what? Really? I don't know. It's interesting.
Drama and it's messy. And honestly, I thank God I'm like in my little corner of Europe. You know the internet's messy. And I'm just trying to be as factual as I can be. But at the end of the day, like we just don't have all the facts. You know? So I think you could be.
So then it just feels, I don't know, this whole conversation just felt like a waste then, no? Like,
you're right. There could be a potentiality for that. And if Katie comes out to be a Machiavellian genius, I will fucking DM you. I will get on stream and be like, bro, you were right. She's Satan, bro.
No one's saying that, but we can move on. You know? At 11 minutes in
Jesus Christ.
your video, you defend Katie by saying, quickly, if you want it, do you have any questions for me? I don't want to just get my questions out. Do you have anything you want to do?
Nope.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So, at 11 minutes in your video, you defend Katie by saying she corrected herself over the misinformation she spread about George's friend, sending a text message saying he is watching a 26-year-old George cuddle with an 18-year-old Katie. I believe that's what was said. But this isn't Katie taking accountability or coming forward of her mistakes at all. The only reason she's now apologizing is because George called her out for it and put her in a corner, and this is her only way out. I don't know if you're aware, but Katie in the same stream...
It's a reasonable... We don't really know, but that's a reasonable assumption.
...says that she was given the information beforehand that it wasn't George... Wait, information before George responded. Yeah, she was given the information before George responded in his video that the text message wasn't from the guy she claimed it was, but still chose to not correct the record and let that lie continue to spread, despite her knowing it was wrong. I know you didn't get that part of my video either, but I can
maybe
play
I
that for
misheard that. Yeah, maybe you need to replay. Maybe you do need to. Is there a way you can make the volume a little louder too, because it's a little low on the video playing? If it's not, it's okay. I thought she said that she found out later that that's why she corrected it after, not that she posted the video knowing it was wrong. You're saying she posted the video knowing it was wrong information?
No, not video. This is the Twitter response. So she posted a Twitter response. She posted a Twitter response claiming that it was George's friend. Then the real girl messaged her after she posted the Twitter response and said, hey, you got this wrong. Actually, it wasn't George's friend. It was me. And despite knowing that information, she never corrected the record herself, let that lie to continue.
Andrew Huberman is a neuroscientist podcast and is part of the Joe Rogan sphere. Yeah, but what happened to him? I don't understand.
To be spread without correcting it, despite her knowing it was wrong, until George had to be the one to let it be known to the public. So just more.
Okay. Ooh, that's good. Okay, that's pretty bad. Okay, so Katie, I'm just gonna like tell that to my brain again. So Katie literally was told and
did Brittany not finish his video or something? Or?
Didn't correct. Okay, so she did. That's really bad. Okay, didn't correct. No, I'm not a fan of that at all. So she waited for George to come out. Now, okay, I'm going to do my thing again. Give her the benefit of the doubt, maybe. But again, she could be a bitch. Who knows?
Do you want me to play the section first? Or you like...
Oh, sure. Yeah. Do you want to do that? Go ahead.
Okay, let me see.
It's from George's friend.
The screenshot.
Okay, here we go.
The lying is insane. I mean, the crying is insane, bro. It's fucking so disproportionate. He had multiple girlfriends. Oh, okay.
Fucking cry me a river.
In this hour-long stream, though, Katie responds to a lot of the critiques that people have been levying at her, and apparently is taking accountability for lying. First, addressing the text that she said was from George's friend.
The screenshot. I will acknowledge that was a complete miscommunication. There's a screenshot I said was from his friend that wasn't there for the assault. It's a real screenshot. What I got wrong and what was miscommunicated was who it was from. It was actually from, instead of the guy who left or wasn't there for the assault, it was from the girl.
Yeah, she's doubling down on the fact that it was just a miscommunication on her end, which is the real reason why she got it wrong, despite her being the one who literally had to censor out the name or not.
How'd she get a text message wrong? That just seems fucking ridiculous. Yeah, I mean, that definitely definitely lends credibility to the argument that she's being a malicious liar.
Number of the person who sent the text. But get this, Katie then continues to say that the girl who's the real one who sent the text actually messaged her when she posted it and told Katie that it was her, not the guy who she was claiming it was. But for some reason, Katie never corrected the record and continued to let that lie float around despite her knowing that it was wrong.
I got a message from the girl that actually sent the text and was like, it was a while after I already posted my response and was like, you kind of mixed up who the text was from, but I'm sure it won't be a big deal because it was only one of the minor things you said, which obviously we see.
And she was basically a minor, guys, you know what I mean? Oh, shit.
And that was not the case, but I do acknowledge and own up to the fact I completely was wrong about that.
No, you're not owning up to this. You're taking the only option you have left after being proven.
So yeah.
Okay. Do you see the way she said that?
Well, I mean, how do you get a text message wrong, especially if you're the one censoring the name and the number? That doesn't make any fucking sense to me.
That's interesting to my brain. So I remember that. But did you hear the way she told the story, which could be wrong, by the way, that the girl said it shouldn't be that big of a deal. I'm sure no one noticed, which means the girl is saying, don't correct it yet. Not a big deal. And she's the one who sent the text message. But I understand.
What?
They should have corrected it because it insinuated that the guy who did it.
But yeah, it's a big deal. No? Is that not a big deal? She's trying to use false information to lend credibility to her story, and she's knowingly false. I mean, you can't... How do you get that wrong? What?
And so both of those girls made a very bad mistake, like, or a very bad decision. Here, I'll stop saying mistake. They made a very bad decision. And assuming it wouldn't be a big deal. It's a huge deal.
He purposely let the lie be
How is he
spread.
so fucking fast?
He knew it was wrong and didn't make a correction. That's like, come on.
I don't understand how she made the mistake in the first place.
Yes, okay, but like, okay, you're doing this thing again where like, are they kids who think it's not a big deal and like literally won't matter, or do they understand the weight of what they just did? I don't think they I don't know, maybe.
Am I getting something wrong? How the fuck she pushed a false narrative about a screenshot? Like she had to censor the name and the number. How does she make a mistake doing that? That doesn't make sense to me.
I don't know. This comes across as really big, as like just dismissing all of this.
I'm not dismissing it.
When there's so many different things here. Like this isn't a one-off. This isn't a twice occasion. Like there's so much against Katie here.
Well, again, I think the problem is like we agree Katie did something. Well, I think we just don't agree that Katie's being intentional. I don't know that. I can't know that. Like I know you feel like you have enough.
I do. I know it, guys. Don't worry.
She knew it was wrong and she let it continue to be spread. Because it benefited her. Because she knew it would look bad if she replied down and said, actually, this is wrong. She knew that would look bad. She was hoping she could pull a fast one and George wouldn't correct her.
Well, she said that, okay, the video and stuff had been up for a while. Then her friend goes, hey, this is me. You misunderstood. Then she goes, okay. Then George makes his video and then she corrects her after. So I think that's fair. But again, like...
I don't think that the issue is whether she corrected it or not. The issue is, like, how did she make that mistake in the first place? Unless somebody sent her the text message? Okay, I don't understand.
Was she sitting in her room thinking like, fuck it, fuck this guy?
Am I missing something when it comes to this? It sounds like she was the one who censored the name and the phone number. Or maybe that's your only argument, is that like, oh, she wasn't the one who censored it. It was somebody else. Okay.
I'm gonna let him take the heat for it. Or she like, okay, well, no, let's not, because this matters. Like, I know you think it doesn't matter, but if you're being very serious, and it very much matters.
Okay.
It has to matter. Otherwise, there's no point to us living in a society. Like, it has to matter. Like, it has to matter why she did it. If I want the world to get better, we have to understand why people make these decisions. And it's not just because they're bad.
I think part of it's because people let them get away with it.
It's because they think it's right. So why does Katie think this is okay? You keep thinking
Why
she
do you
knows
think
it's
it's
wrong.
okay? Why do you think it's okay?
Well, I don't think it's okay.
Why do you think she
okay.
thinks it's okay?
That's a great question. I think she thinks it's not a big deal.
Really?
Probably. Maybe. But I don't know that.
Okay.
But I don't know that, right? Like, that's the problem. It's like, so, listen, let me tell you, okay, how many instances I've had grown adults to my face justify the weirdest things to me. They're like, but it's okay. You can logic roll your way into anything. Like, including a war. But here we are living in a world. So Katie could have logicked her way into any bad decision. And I'm saying it's not a justification. She should be held accountable within reason. I don't like the mob. I'm sure you wouldn't like it if a mob came for you, right?
Oh, yeah. I love it.
You didn't feel like you were being represented.
A mobster's coming for me.
Katie's innocent. I'm saying Katie might not be as evil.
Bro, 3 of my teammates died for no reason there. I don't understand why. I was inting for the tower, and then I was able to get away. But 3 of them fucking decided to int with me for no reason.
Well, she's being painted. And George is doing the best he can with what he has. I'm saying I can't, as a grown-up, look at a 19-year-old and not remember being messy and miscommunicating and knowing how messy. Look at the politicians, girl. Everybody be messy. I don't know why we're putting so much responsibility on Katie. Except to say that we would like to see a world that understands how to be better. And I don't think the world that's criticizing Katie is much better.
Okay. Just to put in perspective, do you know what like Katie has done to George? Like, George will forever have sexual assault allegations following his name for the rest of his life.
I think that he will probably be able to live this one down pretty easily. This one seems like he'll be able to live it down. He'll probably be all right. There might be people who will always say, like, oh, you did this, but those people aren't going to matter. But still, like, yeah, if you Google GeorgeIsNotFound, I imagine it's not going to look good.
Like, any girl he goes on a date with, they search up his name and they see accused of sexual assault for his entire existence. That's what Katie has done to him.
Sure.
Yes, I agree. That's pretty awful. And same with me. If you look me up,
that's like
my
one of the worst
picture
things you
will
could
come
do to someone. That's one of the worst things you could do.
Okay, so I'm telling you, I have a lived experience. If you look me up, it will come across as like Brittany sex trafficked me, which obviously isn't true. I've gone to court over this. And I don't say my stalker's name on stream because I've already gone to court over it. Don't evoke her name. She will take you to court. Okay, because that's what she does. She's a serial, whatever they call it, perpetrator of this.
Okay. So then wouldn't you like understand what it is to have stuff like that follow you forever?
There are rumors of me on the internet. Brittany sex trafficked me. Brittany did this horrible thing to me. I never did any of those things, and I've already proved my case. And
so you should understand better than anyone.
Yes, yeah. And I do understand, which is why I'm telling you, as somebody who's experienced it, I know what it feels like to heal from the trauma of somebody violating your name. And I know that my stalker is sick and Katie is sick and people do bad things to people because they think it's right. It doesn't make it right. And I held my stalker as accountable as I could through the law. Didn't do much, by the way. She's still a free person. I don't know if you know this. Like, it's very hard to keep those people in jail. But ultimately, I don't know what Katie's intentions were. right? So
it just sounds like you're dismissing this idea that this thing could destroy this person. You know, like I've had a lot of frustration surrounding the fact that people like falsely labeled me a pedophile because I made a joke and then they cut the end out of it that was actually calling out like somebody who allegedly slept with a kid. And like it's frustrating, but like I had like hangups about it for a while. That's why I got a little too upset when Death Noodles was being annoying and like I'm gonna go say this guy's a pedophile. Like I shouldn't have cared, but I did. Right? So I get that point. Like this stuff lives with you forever. But it sounds like you're very diminishing of his experience. I don't really understand that.
I am telling you.
It sounds like she's very she really wants to go to bat for Katie. And maybe it's because she's a woman and maybe I'm going to bat for fucking George because I'm a man. I don't really know. But it just feels like you're going so hard on your defense on Katie. Like there's no like what do you think should be her punishment? You asked him that. What do you think should be her punishment? Like I don't understand. Like this Jesus Christ. Like it just sounds like she can just do no wrong. Like everything that she's ever done wrong, it's like it's okay. She's just a little baby.
Was based off of her actions.
This is predecessor, by the way. Sorry.
What she's caused for another man, which is like will destroy. Like I mean,
another man. Are you saying that she's trans, bro? Is this transphobic?
Damage his reputation for the rest of his
life.
life.
But remember, we don't know if she actually thinks she was sexually assaulted or not.
Oh my God.
We don't know that.
Like right now, but we've already discussed that.
Okay.
But right now, I don't really think that's like much important. This is the consequence. This is what she has done to this man based off of his actions.
I know, but she hasn't done anything to a man. She did something to a man who sexually assaulted her in her perception.
Doesn't matter. She's wrong about that, though. Doesn't matter if she thinks that she's right or not. She's still stupid. Okay.
Which you would agree, if somebody sexually assaulted you, you should tell everybody about it,
yeah,
right?
But do you understand how you can critique that? So let's.
No, I don't actually. I disagree with that. I don't think that if somebody sexually assaults you, should tell everybody. I think that you should tell the correct. I guess my team lost the team fight. I think that you should tell like a therapist, go to the police. They might not be perfect, but it's better than nothing. Talk to maybe a trusted person, but you shouldn't tell everybody about it. No, I don't agree with that.
Say like
oopsie
you
poopsie.
Personally think that you were sexually assaulted over something as little as what? I mean, just for the sake of an argument, it's obviously exaggeratory. But say like, you know, some girl touched my hand without my consent. Oh, well, you sexually assaulted me. Obviously, that would be insane if I now accuse her on my public platform of sexual assault and now follows her for the rest of her life. Like it's a disagreement on the contents of it.
Yeah. I agree with that as well. I mean, I agree with you. I think this is the part of the society that we haven't had these conversations.
Bro, they were cuddling and he might have touched her like boob over her shirt or something. It's not sexual assault in any capacity, in any culture. Nobody cares. This is not real.
Yet, because remember that marital and spousal rape wasn't even a
This isn't even close to marital or spousal sexual assault in any capacity.
thing until people didn't think you could rape your own spouse. Do you know that was a thing?
This is not even close to that.
Recently, like people didn't know you could be raped by your own husband. It had to be like put on the books. So like humans, like we're still learning like what is the line, what is appropriate, what is a possibility. And I don't think I think this is one of those cases where we're gonna have to learn the hard way.
This is never ever sexual assault to anybody ever. No.
You're right. It's incredibly
he just
disturbing.
becomes like a martyr. I don't know. I feel like you're just very dismissive of this, but we
Yeah, she's very dismissive of this.
can move on.
I don't mean to be dismissive. I think what I am is I'm not personally involved. I'm not putting my personal emotions into it. I'm just speaking like I'm trying not.
I don't know. It comes off that comes off as condescending. It's like no. I don't think I'm dismissing it. I think that I'm just like better than you because I don't insert myself into this in a way that it lets me have a bias. Like that's what's being communicated there. You're dead, bitch.
Not to make it personal because it's not about me and it's not personal.
Both of you are dead.
And I think that there's a lot of pain and hurt and people are projecting like, what if I was that man? And I'm saying as somebody who was that woman. Yeah, I know that this is just how life goes and you have to do your best to defend yourself and life is not fair. But more than that, in order to stop this from happening again, we have to have more conversations about consent, more conversations about
But she was not assaulted and would never be considered assaulted ever. No. Okay.
Desire. So we don't have false accusations running around.
Yeah, I think
so
like
men
both
can
things
say,
can coexist though. Like I agree with what you're saying. We should have more conversations.
You lose,
whatever,
baby.
but,
Yeah.
You okay moving on?
Yeah.
All right, 31 minutes in your video, you push back on my point by saying 26 and 18 is completely inappropriate, which is fine if you personally believe, but as I explained in my video,
26 and 18 is not. She's a legal adult. I don't care. Who cares?
the problem is that Katie was using this to try to paint him out.
Yeah.
All right, at 31 minutes in your video, you push back on my point by saying 26 and 18 is completely inappropriate.
Why is it completely inappropriate? I think it's immature, but completely inappropriate? No. Like, I think it's immature. I mean, I think especially it's immature if he's trying to date her. It's like, what do you have in common with her? Then again, they're both streamers. I don't know. But completely inappropriate? I don't think so.
Which is fine if you personally believe, but as I explained in my video, the problem
do?
is that Katie was using this to try to paint him out to be a predator by using phrases like, he's a much older and more powerful man, which is purposely phrased that way. And do you think a 26-year-old trying to get with an 18-year-old makes you not a predator?
No, I don't think anything makes you a predator unless you are one.
Okay. So I mean, yeah, like we
what
probably
makes you a
agree. It's like,
predator?
I guess, you know, at worst, I wouldn't want my daughter being 18 and hooking up with like a 26-year-old. We could agree if that's like weird and you'll judge them.
Sure.
But I mean,
I wouldn't want my daughter hooking up with anybody. So
using this as another, you know, hay bale on like another something to stack onto George to try to accuse him of being a predator. You know.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I definitely think like, I'm assuming, I hate to say this way because I don't know this, but I'm assuming that was a part of the script, right? Make it clear, show the differences. Oh my gosh. Like, yeah, obviously I think we agree that whether or not malicious or not, because again, you can't know those things. Obviously it was meant to say like 26 and 18, you know, obviously if lots of people have that relationship and it works out fine. It's not my favorite age gap, but she is a legal adult. So at the end of the day, it was well within the law. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. And then you follow up 3 minutes later by saying 18 is the new 8. Can you expand on that?
What? 18's the new 8? Incredible.
Why did you say this? Can you like, I don't know.
Yeah,
what was your
I mean, hopefully she was made a little cheeky when she said that.
perspective there?
I think what I was trying to get at is that it feels like, and this is sort of coming out with studies, but we're still working on figuring it out, that a lot of things like COVID or the internet is kind of postponing like a maturity expectation. People are moving out later in life.
So yeah, COVID has an impact, but people are moving out later in life, not because of COVID. It's just like the economy is pretty brutal right now. So
People are getting independence later in life. So there's going to be sort of a stagnation and social.
yeah, sure. I agree that people are maturing slower because of that. Absolutely. So if you want to change the script and make it 20 years old as a new age of consent or something, that's fine. But that's not what it is now. So
situations. And I think 18 feels really young. Like, do they even know anything? Can they do anything?
I mean, maybe 18's the new 17. I don't really know. I don't think that people pre-18 are any less mature than they used to be. I think it's people that are 18 and older, because now you're extended time into school. College is to an extent, depending on your community colleges especially, but like a 13th grade, you're living with your parents later. You're not necessarily working. Or if you are working, you're not working to fully support yourself. It's really just a little bit of extra money, maybe pay a bill or two. You're still living with your parents. It's hard to live out. It's hard to do this. You know, you're generally not in like relationships, right? I understand that. So like maybe 18's the new 17. I don't know, but it's come on. At what point, the less that you put on somebody, the less that they are going to mature, right? So this is the thing. There are ages that people will generally be prepared to be able to handle particular stress. 18, you are at an age to be able to handle the stress of some adult tasks. One of those adult tasks is verbal communications, verbal and nonverbal communications, and verbal and nonverbal boundaries that you set in place in social situations. Katie was fully equipped to be able to make the decision to walk away from George. She was under no duress in any capacity. She had several outs. She was never in any danger. I don't even think she communicated that she was in any level of danger. So, like, she's old enough to be able to make that decision.
I don't know if you have parents that are very old. Mine are in their 60s. And I always say, like, oh, they're grown. Like, they're 65. You know, they're, like, grown-ups. When I look at myself and my husband and we're watching anime and we have a cat and that's our biggest responsibility, I'm like, man, we kids, bro. But we're not kids, but, like, we're not grown.
I forgot I gotta water my lawn tomorrow. Fuck.
And even my parents, they're like, why aren't you guys growing up like we did? And I'm like, well, we don't have to, girl. We can make money.
Does lack of responsibilities really affect your mental maturity that much? People are just man-child children, not actual children. Yeah, no, lack of responsibilities absolutely affects your maturity, 100%. If you had no responsibilities, you would not be a responsible or mature person. The more responsibilities, the more stress that's put onto you, the more mature you're going to get through those experiences. Absolutely. Like, if you drop out of school at 16 and you start working a full-time job, like, you're going to be more mature than an 18-year-old that's still in high school. Like, I absolutely. Responsibility absolutely is going to change the way that your life moves. 1,000%. 1,000%. That's why we think that people with like kids are more responsible than people without kids, because they've gone through life experience of having kids.
Money and chill and watch anime for the rest
just
of
like
my
basically
life.
an inflammatory statement of just saying like 18-year-olds are still young. Okay, gotcha. That's what I thought it probably was, but I gotta make sure, you know.
Yeah.
All right, though. So in 46 minutes of your video, you gave the defense that in my bubble, cuddling is neutral, and bring up that when you Google the definition of
Cuddling's not neutral.
cuddling, it used the example sentence of he cuddles the baby close. But don't
Okay, obviously, if you're cuddling with a fucking baby, you're not trying to have sex. Well, I hope you're not trying to have sex with it. But if you're cuddling if you're a person cuddling with another person that is within a reasonable age range that you just met, when you're both are drunk and flirting with each other, yeah, you're obviously it may not be a sexual act, but it's a progressing act. It's an intimate act. And obviously it's being used as a boundary tester. And if you don't know that, then you're an idiot. And she now learned, and she wasn't fucking traumatized.
Do you think the context of Katie and George being both adults of the opposite sex obviously changes the implication of cuddling, though, as opposed to what you do to a baby? Like,
obviously.
Yes, the answer is to increase the amount of responsibility 18-year-olds have, not to treat them like they're babies. I 100% agree.
I'm very into context. So yes, except and this is again, different lifestyles, different experiences.
Look at this lifestyle.
Yes, but I also know there are contexts that I'm open to it, especially.
Look at this lifestyle, baby.
Is context.
What do you think about
everyone
that?
Cuddles
What do you think about that, guys?
the same or spoons the same. I also don't know if they mean spooning horizontal on the couch or if they mean like side.
I don't care. They were cuddling and they just met. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me.
I decide. I was confused on that because I think people describe spooning differently.
My arm is actually looking pretty big, man. What the hell?
Like I think spooning is when you're like crotch to boobs, like crotch to butt, and chest to back. So she said she was on the couch cuddling and spooning and she was turning towards somebody else. So my brain was like, did she mean that they were on the couch and they were kind of like cuddling?
I'm allowed to feel myself.
Confusing.
I'm allowed to feel myself.
So obviously it's hugely different. I'm just pointing out that we don't know the exact context. And since no one else in that room.
Papa God, are you going to teach your kids about nonverbal consent and other forms of consent through Caitibugzz and other various YouTube sexual assault allegations? No. I'm going to teach my kids to be as in your face, like get verbal communication from people as much as possible. And verbal consent as much as possible while teaching them to recognize nonverbal signs as well. But especially, in my opinion, for boys, it's harder. I think boys are very emotionally unintelligent. So
also thought it was weird or called it out. I'm assuming nobody else picked up on the context. So I'm assuming there was like a lot of miscommunication from everyone.
What about Mr. Communication?
Ooh. I still disagree that like cuddling is a neutral act and that in Katie's bubble it means nothing. I just personally disagree on that.
It could mean... But I mean, a lot.
I don't care what Katie's bubble thinks. We all know that if you're cuddling with a fucking guy, like you're the intention is to be like some kind of intimate level, and you know that what he's going to get out of it. And if you didn't know that, again, you just learned. That's very commonsensical.
I mean, I'm putting out tonight.
Just because I don't know what a fucking stop sign means doesn't mean that I get to blow the stop sign with no penalties. Like, like I don't know what to tell you.
Girl, I don't know what it means.
Yeah, but even if I yeah, because any experience I've had if I'm cuddling with a girl, it's like, obviously, it's going to go to the next step. I don't know if
Bro, she was an 18-year-old girl. She probably saw that a fucking 26-year-old boy liked her and was like, oh my God, this is so amazing. Girls like older men. Like, that's the reality. Do I think it's smart to like older men? No, you're stupid, girls. And by the way, boys, you're dumb for liking younger girls. Okay? But, like, that's what was probably going through her head as a normal 18-year-old. Oh my God, this older, successful YouTuber likes me? Oh my God, blah. And then later on, she felt silly because she recalled that situation, and now she's fucking having a meltdown about it. So, thank you, Spoops, for the $2. Hell yeah, get them gains. That's what I'm talking about, bro.
This is my personal bubble, but but
sure. I mean, we all have different lived experiences, right? Everyone does everything different.
Okay,
no,
yeah. But even if I grant you the sake of that cuddling's a neutral act for the sake of the argument.
I'm German. We do everything the same. Stop it! Stop hurting me!
You also said they were spooning. How do you friendly spoon with someone? I mean, what bubble does that?
Weird girls do that. Yucky girls spoon. That's a weird girl behavior sometimes, but you don't spoon. But it's never spooning with guys. It's always spooning with like your girlfriends.
Do you know a bubble that friendly spoons?
Yeah,
someone?
I mean that was all. You're explaining all of my 20s, bro. Like
you would friendly spoon with other men of the opposite sex you're attracted to.
Well, I'm pansexual, so everybody, girls, boys, it didn't matter. But like, think about it, right? Like you're.
Well, sounds like you have a very particular experience. That's not Katie's experience.
D&D. It's late at night. You're all kind of drunk, and you end up all spooning in bed. Like I don't know. Is my 20s just like maybe wild?
Do you not think that's flirtatious though?
I don't know if it's wild, but it's not normal. Like
when you're spooning in bed with someone, wouldn't you self-admit that's flirtatious?
Okay, here's a question for you.
Yes, that is the answer. The answer is yes.
Like I'm also in the queer bubbles mostly, and I'm with.
It doesn't matter. She's not Katie.
With a lot of like gay people. Like,
okay,
we kiss, and it's not. We're not even going anywhere with it, girl. Like,
just to be clear, pretty stop. You have to know you're being silly right now. Even if that is true, that is the most unrelatable experience I've ever heard in my entire life. You guys kiss and it's not going anywhere. Stop. We're gonna claim that like kissing on the lips is now not like a sexual act in some capacity. Come on. Fuck out of here.
Okay.
Come on.
We're in a different world, and so that's what I'm saying is like I don't know how queer her bubble is, and apparently
Stop. You can't. You're giving her so many outs. I don't know. Maybe she's kind of gay and she likes kissing, and that's not sexual. What the fuck are you talking about? Jesus Christ, Caitibugzz. Like, there's no accountability for Caitibugzz in Brittany's world. You got to stop, Brittany. This is very terminally online. You got to be You're going crazy, girl.
Dream is bisexual. So like,
who gives a fuck?
They might just be a bunch of queer kids.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like they might.
Okay, this is fucking preposterous.
Be theater kids. Theater kids be making out.
Theater kids are fucking weirdos. But also, this is getting too far. This is going too far.
So I don't know. Like I don't know.
Well, obviously George and George's bubble, he thinks it's more than just friendly cuddling.
Well, George, obviously, I think. Well, you know,
I just have a tough time believing this because it's such a low percentage. I feel like of people, especially in the States. We're not talking about like different cultures outside, like countries or whatever. People in the States, like Katie's in the States, and she thinks that really she was just friendly cuddling that night with them.
Well,
there's less than a 1% chance that she thinks that she's friendly cuddling.
I don't know.
I don't know what you. I agree with you. It's very hard to know. I agree.
It's not very hard to know. It's very unlikely. Okay, it's very unlikely. It's just probably not true in any capacity. You're making a wild ass fucking claim. Oh no!
See, I'm so like blunt. I would have been like, "What are you guys doing? You guys flirting? What's happening? What's going on? I'm confused. What are you doing on the couch together?" But see, that's the problem. Is like they're not verbalizing it. And also, you know what? I'll point out that Katie did that I was really like when I first covered her, I was really upset about. Was she said, "I thought this is what I had to do to hang out with bigger content creators and get views and stuff."
Yeah, like that's absurd of a statement.
That's absurd, right? And I hate that narrative. And that narrative pisses me off because I'm like, hey, are you selling out your soul for clicks and views? Is that what you're doing? Or are you literally getting trapped?
I mean, she could have left. I'm tired of the power dynamic arguments. Another buzzword argument. Those exist, but he wasn't abusing it. He didn't leverage his power to try to make her do anything. So.
And that weird psychology people have, which I hate, which is like, I guess this is just what everyone does. I don't give a fuck if it's what everyone does. Walk out. Who cares about views and money?
My safe estimation of why she said that is for the same reason she said freshly 18. She just wanted the medicine to go down easier with the audience.
That's the thing. Maybe I'll give you that. When I first heard that, I was like, oh, this girl be lying. But then I saw follow-up and follow-up.
Remember when she said her outfit was stained on her? From that night, it's stained on her forever.
She had cum on him. He prematurely ejaculated on her. I'm just kidding. I'm being stupid.
He's so dirty that she can never even wash herself off. I mean, give me a break.
Yeah, she's literally just weaponizing things that she hears from like other stories. That's all she's doing there.
So, sure, which is, by the way, I won't lie to you that a part of her story did sound like a kind of a fiction of an assault story.
Yes, a lot of her story did. That's why people are picking up on that and going like, what the fuck is this? So, like, yeah. That's what, like, if you really felt that way, then I kind of feels like, why are you giving her so many liberties?
So there was something
read the rape
to that.
Bible.
Okay.
Yeah, and I agree.
He's so fucking never the rape Bible. Jesus Christ.
See that there definitely were some.
Oh, leave me alone.
Like I don't know, man. But then again, that's the thing. I don't know, and so I'm being very cautious. And also, I am older, and also people do slide into my DMs. Like you're not the only one, and so I want to make sure that if they see this and they slide into my DMs, there's like at least one person that's being like, okay, let's hear it. Let's hear it, girl. Let's go. Because like I'm open to being wrong, and to being wrong means you have to give her space to like tell her story in a less threatening way, right?
She's told her story multiple times. She doesn't get like she has no credibility left to tell a story. I don't know what to tell you with that one.
And George or Dream or whoever wants to reach out, obviously.
I'm decimating his CS, dude. I'm fucking going crazy.
I just want to give that space to people because that's, you know.
Yeah, I just personally think it's a safe assumption, especially based off all the other information, but we can move on.
For sure.
So
making you flash, bitch.
Okay, so
I thought I had a pause.
At 1:23:28 in your video, you critique me for not listening to the parties involved. And so okay, I think we already went over that.
We did go over that.
Thing. This Sapnap George throwing under the bus. Oh, this was an interesting one. So about like an hour 46 in, throughout your whole video, like I guess this is your thing to like preach empathy and understand both sides, be nuanced, I guess. But then you tell George to just get over it when he's falsely accused. And I bring up and you bring up the point, and I bring up the point that anytime this guy ever wants to interact with a girl again, they will be able to look up his name and immediately see he's been accused of sexual assault. And you even bring up Chris Brown as your example here, which is someone who got like accused and can still maintain his career. So therefore, George won't have a problem maintaining his career because Chris Brown still has a career. Which I mean, this is just like
beating that pussy up like Chris Brown, baby.
A complete non-comparison.
I thought my ult would have made me untargetable, but I lied. I didn't know that.
GeorgeIsNotFound to Chris Brown. How is that comparable at all? And plus,
yeah, it seems like she's more interested in defending the person that made a false accusation, whether it was malicious or not, versus defending the guy who did not do anything wrong. So.
You know, Chris Brown's reputation has been heavily damaged by his accusations. It's like common knowledge. I mean,
it's because he punched a girl, Rihanna, the queen. Am I right, guys?
Like a joke about him beating Rihanna. Yeah. Like everybody.
Yeah, I mean, as it should, right? He like beat Rihanna, right?
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying even more. That's like an insane comparison to draw to GeorgeIsNotFound. Why? Like this example kind of was like the worst.
Yeah. So okay, I need to clarify this because like this is very important for my brain. I do not make one-to-one comparisons. Everything is a spectrum to me.
What?
So what I was comparing in that moment was not George to literally Chris Brown.
No, you're using a debate language to compare. So I understand that, but what do you? Oh, I love you, Brittany, but you're using typical debate tactics, and you're trying to make it seem like it's this like very like kind of different thing. You know, this is a very typical like tactic. You know, to be like, hey, I'm going to compare it to something that might be a little exaggerated. I did it before, but I'm not going to be like, guys, I use one-to-one comparisons because the insinuation is that you're doing something unique, you know?
It was to the fact that if Chris
Where's this
Brown
fucking-
has pictures of Rihanna getting
I think I get this guy to be so tilted he left the fucking fight.
fuck, can I say fuck on your stream?
Of course.
Yeah, he says the R slur, dude. Lerix, stop it. I'm canceling you.
Have we even said that already? Okay. The fact that Chris Brown has pictures of Rihanna fucked up with bruises
this.
and people still work with him and are friends with him, which is like
Who does
maybe
that?
domestic abusers.
Probably
aren't
because he's
really
like an
domestic abusers.
A-S-class celebrity with a bunch of power. That's probably why. You know?
Okay, you
That's
say
like-
Does he still work with people? I could have swore his like career is over, but maybe I'm wrong.
that.
Predecessors, yeah.
But
It's
in
a
order
weird
for him to
example.
maintain that power, okay, but again, watch my logic. In order for him to maintain that power, people would have to consent to allowing abuser in their like arena, right? Because Chris Brown had an opportunity to never come back, and he still to this day complains that he's never back where he was because people say
guy's
this about
serious?
him. Now, okay, then George Not Found, okay, because what the argument was is like people's careers or their lives get ruined. So Brittany's brain thinks your life getting ruined is like sent to jail for 40 years for something you didn't do, right? That's fucked up.
No, your life is having like a reduction in credibility over something that you don't deserve to have a reduction in credibility over. What? Thank you so much for the $2 from Arc Rebellion TCG. Oh my God, Papa Gut, you're the Papa Gut. Yeah, that's me, man. I am the Papa Gut. Thank you.
That means you have no relationship with society. But George
You wonder if she's arguing for the sake of being contrarian. I get that. I don't know why. I think Brittany's lost in the sauce. If I'm being charitable, I think that her overall point is try to communicate empathy, and I think that she feels very unique in communicating empathy to people. Which there might be a level of truth to that, and she's very lost in like that concept. But it does feel like she's using that as a vehicle to dismiss what Katie is doing or has done.
George Not Found isn't getting locked up. He has access, status. He literally has resources.
Okay, he's not locked up.
and-
Can we agree? Can we come to the common ground that his reputation will forever be heavily damaged?
It might not be. In this case, he might be okay. It seems from what I've seen, he seems like he's going to recover from this. It seems like most people have accepted that she's full of shit. So, but I could be wrong. Maybe that's just in the sphere that I'm paying attention to. But still, it could have happened, and we need to punish people for doing like these things.
in what capacity do you mean that?
You
I
search
don't
up the
think
guy's
that my-
name, the Wikipedia article he always has will always have allegations, sexual assault. I think that heavily hurts someone's reputation for the rest of their life.
I agree that it is going to impact him in some capacity, yes. I'm not sure to what degree, though, and I think that's probably what we're arguing, is it will impact him. Everything, good or bad, will impact somebody. I'm not sure to what
Yeah,
degree.
I'm just
But it's undeserved negative impact. So.
I'm just curious though,
Should I
because
flash
like,
on
you
him?
give so much empathy and understanding to Katie, but then when George comes around, you say, "Get over it." When he's falsely
Well,
accused, like that was a crazy line you said. You gotta admit.
For sure. Keep in mind, my first 3 videos were about George, and my 4th video was about Katie.
What does that mean?
So, because
Isn't it kind of like intertwined? Kind of have to talk about both of them, no?
So the first 3 videos I made, I'm purely on George's side. Katie's a bitch, all that stuff. And then I was like, okay, let's kind of hone it in. Let's try to make this more empathy. So the 4th video I made about them was specifically about Katie. It
Fair,
was
but
about
still, it doesn't like
understanding
defend like just get over it. I mean, do you
Well,
like
okay,
backtrack
so-
that? I mean, how do you defend that?
Yeah.
I understand like making different videos about different people with different points to be made, but like, yeah, why are you being so empathetic to her? The fuck?
So okay, this is what I mean. I mean, not George, a consciousness should just get over it. George, the consciousness should go through therapy and whatever he needs for his support system and reach out to people in his life and move through this process. But George himself will be able to move on from this, meaning
Yeah, sure, but that doesn't mean that she didn't have a negative impact on his credibility or made what?
he won't need to crucify Katie. He won't need to like, Katie,
No, he's not trying. Nobody's saying that he's trying to crucify Katie, and if he did, he'd have every right to do so.
she's a bitch and she should go to jail. He'll be able to say, okay, you did a bad thing. We all agree. Let's move on. I have a feeling.
Why? Like, I have no expectation of him doing that. He has a very negative experience with her, so if he wanted to be more riled up and go harder, I would support that, because that's like he's had a negative experience with her. So you know what I mean? Like he has that bias, and it's okay to have a bias, I think, sometimes. Because he was the one wronged. So if he wanted to go like, no, fuck this bitch, blah 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 blah, then like, yeah, I would be like, yeah, go for it. But what the hell are you talking about? It's a lot of there's a lot to put onto him to just kind of get over it and move on. But then you're basically telling him he really kind of has to get over it and move on, and you don't even think that he has the right to come publicly and tell her to go fuck herself. But then when it comes to her, even though she's in the wrong when it comes to what happened to her, you're sitting here and you're like, well, yeah, but she thought it was wrong, and she's this and she's that. Well, okay, well, if I don't understand. Like, it's a lot of charitability, being very charitable. To this, I'm flashing on this bitch.
George is the kind of person, he seems to have the maturity to move on, which is
I got him. I got his flash, guys. It was worth. Thank you, Preach Clementine, for the small guy. Thank you, brother. Thank you. You're why I got his flesh.
by the way, incredible. I think very highly of George. That's why I'm
Why? George is ugly.
giving him this amount of like
I'm just kidding.
expectation. Now maybe that's wrong. I don't mean to put that on him, right? Obviously. But I think so
Pussy.
highly of George and the
Got
way that
him.
he's responded to everything. I think he would genuinely just move on if they could clear the air. I do. I think Katie has less
Why
of
would he ever trust any interaction with her ever again? That's insane.
a chance of admitting fault or misperception if she feels like there's going to be unjust consequences. I think if George was actually the reason, like her and George had the conversation, I think George could move on and Katie would say sorry, and this would genuinely be like a really big growth moment for society.
That would okay. Yeah.
What? Why do you think this would be a big growth moment for society? That doesn't make any sense. Earlier before, when Lerix made the point that he thinks that a lot of people will look at this and think that women are lying about sexual assault allegations, she's like, well, it's just one situation, it doesn't matter. But now you think that if there's a positive resolution with George and Katie, that this will have a profoundly positive impact on the growth of society. It doesn't make any... She's being so inconsistent. It's just upsetting me. What are you talking about? Oh my god. Oh my god. What are you doing? You're killing me. Oh my god.
That would be great, but I guess it's just, just push back on the main idea. It seems like you have low empathy in that statement, but apparently you have showed empathy in the other statements to just get over it. And like, I mean, we just saw Dream. Like, I was at college, and just random like people I would talk to, they would immediately say, like, I don't know, Dream would come up in a conversation like once in a blue moon, and they would say, oh, isn't that guy like a pedophile groomer? I'm like, whoa.
For sure.
Based.
Like, this is just this guy's reputation.
Does he have any good pics on him? I'm just kidding, dude. I'm kidding. I've seen his taste. They'd be ugly kids, you know what I'm saying?
With like the average Joe.
Yeah.
And I'm a
No.
The average Joseph.
Joe, that's the problem, right?
Okay, well, you get what I mean. It's still to a lot of people.
I agree.
To a lot of people, that's what he's written off as. And I believe a similar thing might happen to George.
I agree. I 100% would be very frustrated if this was. It's frustrating. I'm not in any way saying it's not.
You're implying it's not that frustrating for George.
I meant it more like in a philosophy sense, like in a after the math sense, like in the most mature sense. This is what adults would do. But obviously, the anger and the hurt and the pain, like. I know it's so real. I dealt with it for so many years myself. But once you let go of it and you move on and you accept like this is life, there's so much more.
Maybe me and Brittany should have a chat on this about this. I don't really have an interest in this topic in general. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not, I guess I have really no interest in this. You know what I mean? Like, it's like it's over. I'm not looking to farm content out of this situation. I think Katie's a bitch. Fucker,
to life than holding on to this anger.
That's right, pussy.
But I understand it's a process. Like George has the right to be angry. If George came out making a I hate Katie video, like fair, right? Do I think it's where I would like to see him end up? No, because obviously we want to promote healing. Now empathy, and I will tell this for your audience especially. Not every
violence is healing sometimes. Get at her, get her, George. Kick her ass.
But he has empathy.
I can still take you.
So
right?
I am not perfect.
Dumb as fuck.
Nobody is, and so I won't be able to be empathetic with all people. But I think as a person who's been falsely accused, I, out of all people, should know how George feels. And I'm a victim of sexual assault or a rape, however you want to phrase it. And I know that for myself, healing was a part of it. Therapy, philosophy, and making sure you understand that like. This is life. Like being a human is a very interesting and dangerous thing, and we want a perfect world, but we don't live in that perfect world. And I just don't want to contribute to the best of my ability, though I know I will. To that imperfect world, right? I'm not saying you're a bad person, by the way. I think you're probably a very good person. I just think we disagree on maybe how we come to conclusions.
Yeah, I always ask for verbal consent. You don't have to worry about me. Come
on, Lerix. I know you haven't got any pussy before, bro. Come on, and that's an okay thing, but it's not like he's an unattractive guy. He fucking hangs out in commentary YouTube. You think that guy gets any pussy, dude? Same, am I right, guys?
All right, though. I think we covered that. Okay, last point. And if you have any questions. You could do that after this. This is the last thing I got ready for you.
Okay.
So,
I'm ready to come.
Towards the end of your video, you say that George apologized for touching Katie's tits without her consent. Can you show me where he said that? Because from everything I've seen, George apologized for Katie's feelings, and if she feels bad about the interaction, but then defended himself in regards to touching her, explaining how he was given signs and nonverbal consent to touch her. Hence the reason why he explained at the end of his first response that it's okay if she regrets that night, but it's not fair to blame him for regretting the experience. So I think there's just facts wrong on your end, unless you have some new information you want to give to me.
Right. Now, I will say, I do not know if he literally touched her boobs. Nobody knows.
Well, you said that he apologized.
I don't care if he did. That's the thing. I think she might have claimed that later. This was a new accusation, by the way. This wasn't even part of the original one. It was new that, like, oh, she touched my boobs. This was, like, a new one. And like our follow-up video, so it probably didn't happen. But like if he did, it's still, I don't care. It's not some kind of inappropriate sexual assault. Like they were cuddling for an hour. The next step is to like fucking make a little bit of a move. So if he touched her tits, then that's like his move. Like don't fucking cuddle with somebody you just met. I don't know what to tell you. It's like we're fucking stupid as shit. You cuddled with the dude. What do you think is going to happen? This your new gay best friend? No. You cuddled with a guy. you know enough to know that this means that like you're giving him the idea that you might be interested in him sexually in some capacity. So if he makes that next step, it's a perfectly reasonable step to make after cuddling with a girl for an hour to touch her titty. Like if you didn't want that to happen, then you shouldn't have been cuddling with this fucking guy. He wasn't forcing you to cuddle him. So
for touching her tits without consent. That's just not true.
I swear I was putting quotation marks up when I said that. Maybe not, but that's what I
have the timestamp. You can look at the timestamp.
Okay, even if I didn't, that's what I meant. Like that's what I'm doing in my stream. I'm like, he touched her tits or whatever. Like I'm saying we don't know, but I'm trying to add context to what Katie put in. So obviously I know that. So for clarification, I know we do not know. Wrong. God says my point is just because.
Look, we got two Brittany's here.
I apologize for someone's feelings doesn't mean they're valid. He's not apologizing for feelings. He's apologizing for fucking touching her boob. Confirm. And what feelings are her own. So I could be wrong.
It's a lot of we're hearing a lot of information here.
Not apologizing for hurting her feelings, though. That's a good apology too. He's apologizing for touching her without her consent. I won't go into detail.
Okay, she seems very adamant about that.
I'll let her. He's apologizing for misreading the situation. And so that there's like maybe I misheard that, but I felt like okay, that's an insinuation of maybe something more happened, or maybe it was just her stomach, or maybe it was something else. But
that sounded like you were pretty adamant that that's what he's apologizing for. But okay,
let George and Katie decide how to mutually tell that story. So now Katie came out with more details. I don't know if she's telling the truth of it, obviously, but George did say that I'll let Katie kind of tell the details of what happened. And so we're assuming that's what Katie did. What do you think about that?
Assuming the details of Katie and what?
Like George said, we'll let Katie tell the details if she wants. And so when Katie came out and said that he touched her boob, doesn't that kind of infer? We don't know that, but doesn't that kind of mean that that's what happened? Or no?
I mean, I have no problem saying. I say in my video, George. I have no problem admitting that George touched her tits, but I just still don't care. I don't think that changes much.
It doesn't.
Oh, okay, yeah, I just think that's where the miscommunication probably came up, right? And
no. Then if she didn't realize cuddling with a dude for an hour was going to make him think like, oh, let me touch her tits to see if she's open with that, then she's just dumb. I don't know what to tell you. She learned a lesson. Don't cuddle with these guys. Don't cuddle with fucking people like that are strangers. Like, I don't understand. What do you think a guy's gonna cuddle with you for? Because you're warm? You're a girl. You're probably cold all the time, and it's annoying. Okay.
I also do believe in the validity of asexuality.
And the miscommunication with you or Katie and George?
Oh.
Are you talking about the quotes things?
It's fine if you're asexual and like to cuddle. Tell people that. Hey, I'm asexual and I just like to cuddle for fun. Most people don't cuddle for fun, okay? I don't know what to tell you.
Still, and saying that he apologized for touching her without her consent, or are you talking about just
he did. Are you saying you didn't see him apologize, or that he said he's very sorry to Katie? I think I'm confused. I'm so sorry.
It sounds like he apologized, from what I understand, for making her like feel uncomfortable, not for some kind of sexual assault.
Okay, so like the point is that he never apologized for touching her without her consent. He apologized for her feelings, and if she feels bad and regrets the night.
Yeah. Right, sure.
So he apologized.
Well, that's
two very
obviously
different things.
Yeah, but to George, oh my God, like he would be a monster if he wasn't doing both, right? He's saying, I'm sorry.
No, he would just be like, oh, I'm sorry you got that out of this. And then he explained how like that's not what actually happened from his perspective. So what do you be a monster? What?
That I made you feel that way. I wouldn't have done that if I thought it was wrong. Like obviously he's saying like, okay. I apologize. Does it matter? Like, it's not that he needs to apologize for literally touching her.
He doesn't need to apologize for anything, frankly. I would have yelled at her.
Apologizing for not reading the situation correct, right? Like,
the problem is that he pushed back exactly on that fact, too. He pushed back on the fact that he didn't do this without asking to let her consent. He felt like it was justified for the nonverbal consent. He never apologized for saying, like, I should have.
Yeah, I can agree. I mean, I can agree to that. I think ultimately it's kind of I can agree to that. So he apologized for her feelings, but I do think that he...
Feeling D's nuts.
In reason thought he had not.
I'm a villain, not a monster.
Verbal consent, right? I agree with that as well. I just think that he read the room wrong because it.
No, I think that he read the room correctly. To be honest with you,
and that happens. That's the problem with nonverbal consent. Trust me, I've done this.
But we're making the assumption that she actually like felt this way. I don't think that she did. They were fucking friends after. She wasn't sexually assaulted. I think that your best case scenario is that this experience happened. She had no issue with it really in any real meaningful capacity. And then she saw that like the online narrative shifted and that to everything being sexual assault if you were slightly uncomfortable. And she overly identified with that. That's your most charitable take on the situation. She didn't like it. There's no fucking way. Like I'm not gonna. It's wholly unproductive to give her too much credibility in this scenario. It's psychotic. It's insane.
Myself, where you think the guy's into you and you go in for a kiss and he rejects you, or you go in for a kiss and she's like, oh my God, no. And I'm like, fuck, how did I misread it?
Okay. And that doesn't mean that you sexually assaulted them. They're adults that can put up boundaries safely. So. And
it's because we were.
Thank you for the $5 Apocalypse. It seems like Katie expects everyone to understand her background of asexuality without voicing it. But she doesn't need to understand social norms. Yeah, sure. I don't even know if I believe that she's asexual. It sounds like an excuse to be like, well, I never wanted this because I'm asexual. So say that. Why the fuck are you cuddling with a guy? You know what this guy wants to do. Does Katie not have a fucking father? I don't understand. Like, I don't understand.
For flirting, but the flirting, well, it's the flirting mistake, right? Flirting isn't sexual necessarily. Lots of people
Flirting is typically leading to some kind of potentially sexual behavior. What?
flirt with you and don't want to be with you. And I think that's something that people
Not wanting to be with somebody isn't the same as not wanting to have sex with somebody. What are you talking about?
don't understand.
These are such outlier scenarios. Like 99.99% of the time when you're flirting with somebody, it's to try to get something from them, like sexual, to try to like do something sexual with them. What are you talking about? It's very, what you're talking about is a very outlier scenario. These are the situations where like, yeah, flirting doesn't have to always be sexual. Sure, I can agree with that, but the overwhelming majority of the time it is sexual. What do you mean?
And it's like lots of people will flirt with you and not actually be into you.
On Katie's logic, a lot of people are going to be
Typical female behavior, am I right?
accused of sexual assault soon if everybody went off of her book. But
Well, you know, yeah, I think ultimately, like, look, people lie, and I recommend not doing that, right? I never lie about people,
I say lie all the time, guys. Do it as much as you can get away with, okay? Just
right? That's very important to me. But sometimes, you know, our perception of the truth can feel really real, and it might not be as real as we think it is.
I'm always right, baby.
And I think that's why I want to promote like therapy.
I'm confident in my correctness, guys. If you're not confident in your correctness, then you're a stinky poopy boy.
Philosophy to make sure we know what we're experiencing. You know, it's like a conservative that thinks all trans people are groomers. It's like that's obviously not happening, but that's their perspective. So you have to either
Yeah, I've never really seen a trans person with a good haircut, you know?
get them to think differently or not be neighbors with them. You know, it's like it's hard to explain to people that that perspective isn't objective, but you know, it's their perception. So what are you gonna do? It's like people who believe in God. It's like, well, that's not real, but
Pistol's better? Get the fuck out of here. What are you talking about? I'm starting with Classic Scout. Jump.
like could be real, but maybe it's, you know, it's very difficult to ask people to agree with you on reality, right?
yeah. Well, Brittany, that's all I got for you. Unless you got something you want to ask me.
No, I just want to say thank you for reaching out. You did really well and you were very concise and I appreciate
You did really well. Jesus Christ.
that so much. And yeah, props for you reaching out. I really appreciate it.
All right. Thanks for having a talk. See ya.
All right, have a good one. Bye.
All right. That was an interesting conversation. I wonder what he has to say after this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, listen, listen, man. Here's my thing. I like Brittany. I enjoy her. She's a little quirky. This conversation is a little quirky, okay? Seems like a really nice, caring person. This is certainly a weird take here. My thing, though, is from a credibility perspective. I don't know if this is not. I don't know that this is the. Personally, I don't know if this is the way I'd go from a content strategy perspective. This seemed like a really weird conversation. I don't think that you really won anybody over on this. You know, personally, what I'm doing, and I would just say keep to yourself a little more and put more energy into TikTok. It's just me personally. I think it's probably a better content strategy. Pull new people in that might feel and think the way that you feel and think. But I'm not entirely sure. This is just a little. This is a little interesting. That's all I'm saying. It's a little interesting. So, yeah, crazy video.